right, before we get started, it is a lot going on in the world right now. And actually, if you're in New York, it is snowing. It is so beautiful, but it's a snowy day. So week 3, Madhouse 3 is fitting for this snowy day and what's going on in the world.
Yo, the music and just how you describe, like I could just see like that would be some fly shit to be like in New York. Like, yo, D'Angelo, I'm gonna just walk down to the Southern Street, you know what I'm saying? Let's go get some coffee, you know what I'm saying? And just walk through the snow and the music be playing. Anyway,
Yes, I really wish
my
that
romanticized view of New York is far away.
I
I
wish
was gonna
that
say,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I'm gonna be the killjoy. Snow is only beautiful when it's happening to somebody else. I am a Southerner and Mississippian, and we people don't know that Mississippi gets snow pretty regularly, particularly North Mississippi. So people act like we don't get snow, but yeah, see, that's only beautiful when it's happening to
Man,
somebody else. As long as it's
it's
snowing where
concrete
I'm not
jungle.
at, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's really, really, really pretty, even though you really can't see it, but I tried. Okay, hold on. It's me trying to be Johnny on the spot. And I'm not.
And hey, and in fact, Brother Dean, it wasn't the last symposium. It may have been a couple of symposiums ago
Mm.
that good brother Cam was showing me something in New York. And he was really excited showing it to me. And all I could think was, it's cold as hell. Can we go inside?
Right?
So props to brother Cam for giving me the experience. But at that time, I was like, yeah, this is nice. Show it to me through the window.
All right, I think I look okay. It'll be what it'll be. So, as we know, there is a lot going on, particularly in Minneapolis. So, here are a lot of different organizations. If you want to help support the Minnesota community, there are a lot. So, just take note of that. You can always come back to this. So, we are week 3 of What Did Prince Do This Week? And this is a very slow read of Duane Tudahl's Prince Studio Sessions Book Club series and our Saturday Salon. And we're going week to week, not date to date. And today we will be reading Sunday, if you want to already get your bookmarks ready, Sunday, January the 12th through Saturday, January the 18th. And then you do not need. Look, Michael's already ready. Michael's like, well, you're too slow. Oh, wait. See, Lee, I don't have you. Hold on. There we go. That's better. Yes. All right. And then we have our new subscribe and like button.
We'd have moved on up like George and Weezy. Go on.
Like Tudahl. Yes.
We done gone from the controversy stage to the love sexy stage. Look at you, girl. Go ahead on.
Yes, we have. So these will be archived at Polysolid as well as at MDean. And I hope that you will, as you come on in, hit that like button, as Ricky would say. We miss Ricky dearly. So do it for Ricky. And this is our hashtag WDPDTW. If you ever want to send us anything, that's our email. And this is an independent endeavor. The State of Prince Rogers Nelson is not affiliated, associated, or connected with the What Did Prince Do This Week book club series. Our community guidelines are we choose to be a community even when we disagree. And that reminds me that I need to greet our community. So we had Andre first in the chat. We got Nick Felden from Denver. We have the Boombox Guru. We have Cassandra Bradley and AT Alien. And we have Drea Dances from The Shy. We have Anna B. I love this. The Purple Army is here for what is and for what is yet to come. Love that. We got Christina in Minneapolis. We have Chanel from Australia. Oh, no. Good morning or afternoon from DC. So proud of the brave and courageous folks in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Fight the power. Yes. And we got Jamal Honda. I can never say that. Do it, my thing.
There you go.
See, we got it. And then we got Clarissa, Happy Purple. Then we got Gabrielle from Down Under. We have Lisa Williams from H-Town. We got, yes, Prayers and peace and safety in Minnesota and everywhere. Yes, we do need an out of this world divine intervention. Thank you for that, Anna B. We have RTL 49. It is a cold day here in Chicago. Is it snowing like it is in New York? We got Ron Kayla, we got Karan, we got Raywan, we got Kim, our timekeeper, we got D68A, we got Sister Charles, we got Arlene Oaks, sending much love to Minneapolis, Duke Swan, Fort Porter. And Andre wants to know, Michael Dean, does it snow in Seattle?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it doesn't. You know, funny thing about Seattle, it might like snow once a year or something, and for us, it would feel like an avalanche. But to everybody else in the world, they're probably like, "What are you guys doing? Like this, just inches on the ground." But for us, it shuts it all down. But yes, it does snow here. You know, we're surrounded by mountains, so there's a lot of snow. Like if I look out that window, there's a big mountain, snow on it right now.
All
But we
right.
ain't got no snow right now. Like we getting sun, which is interesting.
Okay. And let's see. The second question would be, does it ever snow in Mississippi, C. Lee?
There you go.
Yeah,
In April.
Well, people don't realize we get a lot of snow in Mississippi. A lot of people like it snows once a year. And then the Delta, like the Delta Blues, everybody talk about the Delta. North Mississippi, as a child, we got snow all the time in North Mississippi. Not always to the level of like them, but there was always snow. When you get down to the central area of Jackson, where I am, it's a little bit lighter. And then on the coast, you know, they don't get much snow at all in the southern area of Mississippi. But I grew up with a lot of Christmas snow, so it snows in Mississippi at least once a year. So we do get snow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They said LA got the 80s going on. That's where I need to be at.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Lord.
Yes, for sure. Welcome, JD.
In fact, it's going to be over the weekend. Every morning this weekend, it's going to be in the 20s in where I live. It's going to be 24. And by the time we get to Monday, it's going to be 21. So it's going to be 24, 23, 21. We get that. Yeah.
Yes. And Dr. Claus reminding us while we're all here, it is crazy to think that it's going to be about 40 years since Parade. So we are very excited. I'm getting very excited for I Wonder You 40, where we will be celebrating Parade, but also Under the Cherry Moon. And I love this January 12th, an auspicious day. I'll make sure we got El Michelle. Yes, Dr. Claw. I love Dr. Claw. Dr. Claw is like, yeah, 1986. It's some stuff coming around for sure. Yes. Oh, and we have to wish our favorite timekeeper, Kim, a happy birthday. She celebrated on Monday.
Happy birthday.
Dances. That's right. And thank you, Christina, for the +1 for the organizations to donate to. And yes, Carol, Minneapolis is such a great city, such a great city. I wonder what Prince would be thinking right about now. And then we want to say hello to Chris Bournet. And it snows in Ohio. I have a lot of family in Ohio, so I know it's snowing in Ohio. And all right. Oh, wow. So Duke Swan says Madhouse 3 is their favorite Madhouse song.
Nice.
So I played it for you. I almost didn't play it because I know Michael Dean doesn't like when we get slow, but it's snowing and it's a little, I don't know.
Put that tag on me. Okay.
I got to put it on somebody, Michael Dean.
All right. This is what kind of show we having today. We get started.
Yes. All right. Okay. So let's get this party started.
Hey, before we can I say something?
No, this is not the last week of last year because Duane is supposed to be writing another book. Yeah.
Right. So before we get the party started, I wanted to say this. I'm glad you always do. You start off with the prayers and everything. I want to say two names and then echo into why I want to say this. So some of y'all know the name Bernadette Anderson.
Yes.
But some of them don't know the name Spike Mouse.
Right.
And the reason I want to start today's show discussing Bernadette Anderson and Spike Mouse, because those were the community activists who shaped Prince's lyrical legacy. Prince was a social political concerned artist his entire career. And if you go back to the beginning, right? When you go back to the beginning of Pepe, who taught Prince how to structure songs, right? Pepe talks about how Prince's songs used to be 1 minute of lyrics and 18 minutes of playing. And he was like, nah, you got to restructure your songs. But if you're talking about the content in Prince's music for along the way, it was Bernadette Anderson and Spike Moss. I think that's important to mention this weekend during the MLK weekend and what's happening in Minneapolis simultaneously, because I come from, my father was arrested 3 times during the civil rights movement, and my father became the first Black person to lead the Mississippi Democratic Party. So I grew up with local activists. And I think for those of us who love Prince and we love the fight that Prince had, in the name of Bernadette Anderson and Spike Moss, I'm going to encourage everyone to get to know who your local social activists are. Don't just know who Martin Luther King is. Don't just know who Malcolm X is. Know who are the local people who fought for justice in your community, because they are dying. They are of the age now where they're getting out of here. And we need to know that. And why that's important is because we cannot forget, on the King holiday, Prince actually paid for the completion of the hip hop video King Celebrate. Remember, they did not have enough money. They had the song, but the record company wouldn't give them the money for the video, and King paid for it. Curtis Blow. Curtis Blow. If you go online, look up Curtis Blow telling the story of how Prince gave them the money to complete the King holiday video. And then number 2, don't forget that Prince was one of the first people that Spike Lee contacted to help him finish Malcolm X. So had it not been for people like Bill Cosby and Prince and many other people, Spike would not have been able to complete the Malcolm X film, which for my money is a great, great film. And so in the tradition and thinking about the King holiday and thinking about the King holiday as a service, let's echo the name Bernadette Anderson and Spike Moss and all of the great local freedom fighters in our community, because that's what Prince would have done, thinking about also how he supported Margaret Collins. I'll shut up.
No, that's really, really important. Thank you so much, Celie, particularly on the MLK weekend, but it's MLK Day every day. It really truly is. All right, so we started off this day with 3 because we're week 3 of What Did Prince Do This Week, and with most of the songs on Madhouse, 8, who are the players? Prince, all instruments except for Eric on sax, and both of them are uncredited. We often, I often forget this. They are literally uncredited on Madhouse. Like, you wouldn't know unless you do your Paisley Park records. But it's kind of crazy to know that neither of them are credited on this release.
No clout chasing.
No, none whatsoever.
Just skills.
Right.
That's a rare thing.
And props to you for sharing with the rest of us the Grown Music podcast discussion of Madhouse. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, thank you for starting with Ricky putting his hot pocket in the microwave. Funniest Ricky moment ever, like this funniest Ricky moment ever. And I'm only mad at you because you only like played a snippet of it. Like, that was like more that you could have played, right? I get, you just wanted to put, so yeah. So thank you for posting, because it really not only brought back memories of me getting in the, I'm not as in the Madhouse as you guys, but it brought back the real time moments of Madhouse. But it also made me go back and just think about things about Madhouse, about which I hadn't. So for you guys who haven't listened to that Grown Folks Music podcast, where it's Prof Dub, Brother Ricky, Brother Ivan Orr, and Brother Turnbull, and they all are making both great and scandalous Madhouse statements. So you get the full gamut of the love on Madhouse and the other stuff that always happens in these. So just thank you for that, because I think that that's a conversation, particularly in the tradition and love of Brother Wyatt, that needs to be heard. All right, I'll shut up.
Oh, thank you so much for that, Celie. I really appreciate it. It's like, I can say so much, but I'll say this. So the Grown Folks Music Podcast, it's no longer, and they took down everything. But luckily, I edited all of the Prince podcasts, so I actually have them. So I reached out to Ivan and got his permission to repost some of them, just in memory of Ricky, because we had some incredible conversations, and it's a lot different from what we do here at What Did Prince Do This Week, because this is really a book club, and we are reading and all of that. But the Grown Folks Music Podcasts are super special, and to be honest, I almost didn't want to post it because we did that roughly from 2016 till 2021, something like that. And the social media was a little different. Like, you could have diversity of opinion and people wouldn't get upset. So like Celie talked about, like, we're not all, kumbaya. It's not a kumbaya podcast. Mm-hmm. And so I was a little like, I don't know, but it's like, it's one of my favorite times with Ricky. I'm so blessed to have had past 3 years with Ricky, but he didn't show up every week. But then we had those Grown Folks Music conversations, and they are really good. So I'm going to try to post like one per month so that we can remember Ricky throughout the year. And also I had to figure out how to deal with probably the YouTube algorithms, because there's a lot of music snippets throughout those podcasts. I also have some without the music. Luckily, later on, I started editing them with and without the music. So I'm going to try to post as many as possible. So the next one I'm going to post is for Madhouse 8, because the one I just posted was Madhouse 16. And it is in the Ricky Wyatt playlist that's on my YouTube channel. All the playlists are at the bottom of the screen. You can see a lot of other Ricky's appearances on a lot of the symposia. And then obviously What Did Prince Do This Week? We had that podcast. So we're never going to forget about Ricky. And thank you, Celie, for saying that, because those podcasts were truly, truly special. I mean, it was different. It was a different kind of vibe, because unlike, What Did Prince Do This Week, where we have you, the community, it's just really like, friends just talking to one another about their likes and dislikes of, certain albums and music and a lot of context. So I'll stop talking, but yeah, those are very, very special to me. So thank you for acknowledging that, Celie. So we are week 3. We are episode number 155, 155 episodes. 155 episodes. Thank you, LTKK. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. I am juggling a lot. I'm doing my best. Thank you so much, Christina. I really, really appreciate it. And I love this. Okay. It was great hearing Ricky's voice again. Yes. I love the different perspectives in the Grown Folks Music Podcast and What Did Prince Do This Week as well. The Prince community is not a monolith. I love that, Chris Bournet. It is so, so great. All right. Okay. So we got a lot to talk about this week. Prince is on fire because he's like done with filming on Chair Moon. He's like, parade, parade, parade. He's in parade mode right now. 7 studio sessions, 2 new songs. Oops, I forgot to hide the rest of the month, but that's okay because that's out of date. So just look at the third row, and you can see there's like, I'm not even going to read all this because we're going to read about it. And we're going to get started with Sunday, January 12th. Who wants to start off talking about all the different songs? And it's a short one if it helps, sort of.
I'll start, I guess.
I'm lying, Michael Dean. Maybe you should. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't. Celie, do you want? Because I know that you're not feeling the best, Michael. So let's let Celie do that one with his magnifying glass.
Yeah, I was gonna say when she said show, and I was like, yeah, brother Dean ain't turned the page. He ain't turned the page.
Right.
I'm gonna just be real quiet while he turned the page.
He's gonna let me walk into it.
If you get quiet and they've grown up to get you in the room, I'm gonna just sit here in the corner real quiet. All right. Sunday, January 12th, 1986. Neon Telephone, new mix. I know every time I think about Neon Telephone, I just think about the phone in the movie. I know I could be thinking about the song, but I always just think about the phone. And I think about him eating that cracker while he talking on that phone. I don't know. Was that a cracker? What was he actually eating on the phone? Was it a cracker or was it something else?
Cracker.
Okay, so, I just wanted to make sure.
Celie, I kid you not. That is my absolute favorite moment in the entire film when he's on the phone and he bites down into that crack. Kim says it's bread. I thought it was
okay, so let me ask you a question. Was it toast? Because that was some hard ass bread. So was it toast?
I thought it was a cracker.
Yeah, because he does. You know what? Because he does put butter on it, doesn't he?
Oh yes.
Yeah, he does put butter on butter. Right. There you go. I does. So, but didn't it like crunch or something? Because that's what made it laugh. Because it crunched, didn't it?
Yeah.
So was it some?
It was a message.
Bread? Yeah, was it old ass bread or was it toast? What was it?
Oh my God! So Kim said crusty French bread with butter.
That ain't nothing but a crouton. That's all that is. He's just eating crouton.
But I would argue you see him do that again later in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
In an interview and look who he talking to every time he's doing that.
Yeah.
I don't put nothing past Prince because it's very disrespectful. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Anyway.
Is it Michael? I thought Prince was just hungry.
No,
how many people you see in an interview on national TV and the man talking to him and he bolting?
That was either Good Morning America or Today. And you ain't eating no cracker on Good Morning America or Today.
You know, and from his generation, you know, good goddamn and well, you don't pull out no food in the middle of the, you know.
I'm glad you said his generation, Brother Dean, because here's something as a child. I can't remember who it was. It was a black person giving an interview. And all the person did was just reach up and just lightly scratch his head. And my mother, like, I know he ain't scratching his head on TV. Like, I just remember, like,
right.
Can't scratch your head on TV.
You know, to me, that's just that. I don't know. I've never met Prince like that. I don't know him, but that's just that little kid, that little badass kid that I always think he kind of might have been. And it's still, that's just in his DNA to just kind of push you like that. You know, he'd be the, you know, the same, he's the same person who would go on Dick Clark thing and be like,
right.
You know, it's the same sort of thing, but that's just his style. That's why I love it though.
Yeah.
Well, so
he's a rebel.
It's the rebel, indeed. And that's one of the qualities that really drew me to Prince was his rebelliousness, especially, and Celie can relate to this, as a Black female growing up in the South, you dare not be rebel. You cannot be a rebel. So I was living my rebelliousness through Prince because I knew at least he could be rebellious, even if I couldn't, because that wasn't going to fly where I grew up.
And,
but,
you know, tied into what Celie was saying about Miss Anderson, you know, that's probably one of the people who didn't play that in his life, and coming over here, you're gonna be over here, you're gonna be get right, you know. So it's anyway.
But just going back to On the Cherry Moon, the reason why, Celie, that I thought it was a cracker is because of what Michael said, that I've seen Prince pull out that cracker.
Yeah. Now, like I said, it was either on Good Morning America or the Today Show. He just pulled that crack out and bit it like it wasn't like nothing.
Middle of the interview.
Yeah. And then he gonna give him that fake answer. I'm hungry.
Yeah, and he's a superstar. That's like, you know, that's just such a, you know, they don't do that. But anyway, Prince
I believed him. Okay, go ahead, Celie.
Splash, teacher. An Honest Man, Venus de Milo. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not doing the thing. So, Neon Telephone, new mix. Splash, new mix. Teacher, new mix. An Honest Man, instrumental mix for movie. Venus de Milo, orchestra only mix for movie. Venus de Milo, piano mix for movie. Everything But You, review, possible overdose mix. Last Heart. If you break my heart one more time. Okay. The last heart you ever break. All right, let's move on. Listed as Baby My Heart. Probable tracking and vocal mix. Last Heart, instrumental mix. Conversation piece, tracking, overdub mix. Sunset Sound Studio 3:30 p.m. to 10 a.m. booked Lockout, producer Prince, artist Prince, engineers Coke Johnson and Susan Rogers. Here's a quote from Eric Lee. Conversation piece probably, hold on. There you go. Conversation piece probably alluded to the fact that it was just Prince and myself. If I remember correctly, what I did on the horns was pretty spur of the moment off the top of my head, end quote. All right, let's get into the discussion here. For the first 2 hours of the sessions, Prince continued to mix multiple tracks that likely included Neon Telephone, Splash, Teacher Teacher, Venus de Milo, and An Honest Man for consideration in the movie. Many of the tracks either contained Claire Fisher's orchestration or were mixed as instrumentals. At 5:30 p.m., Prince switched from mixing to tracking one of the three new songs, Last Heart, Conversation Piece, and a song written by Wendy and Lisa called Everything But You. It appears that Everything But You was reviewed by Prince first. It is unclear how much work was done on the track, but it is unlikely that Prince added his lead vocals. He followed up with Last Heart, a song that blends his own potential weakness with the threat of violence against his lover, a theme he'd hinted about in multiple songs over the course of his career, including I Would Die For You, Sarah, If I Was Your Girlfriend, and the unreleased 1982 version of Extra Lovable. Peggy Leonard recalls how she felt engineering the sessions and songs like this. You want the Peggy Leonard quote?
No more quotes.
Okay. You want me to go down to the paragraph the track featured?
Yeah.
All right. The track featured Prince on his usual lineup of instruments, drums, bass, guitar, and the Yamaha DX7 synth, and Eric leads on sax. Once his sax overdubs were completed, he and Prince worked on a funky track called Conversation Piece. As Lee's detailed quote, this is Eric Lee's talking, that was a pretty crazy instrumental that we did that I think was going to be part of the movie musical that he was going to do. It was one of his brainstorms at the time. He had a whole idea of doing like a Broadway kind of musical, and I think that was going to be part of it. I think I'm just doubling synth lines that was on Conversation Piece, continues Eric. A couple of little synth hits, and there was a solo spot in it. Yeah, it was a solo spot in it. I'm not even listening to the song half the time because Prince doesn't pay me to like his music. He's paying me to play it, end quote. That is a classic Eric Lee's line. Let's move on. From 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., it appears that all additional vocals were recorded for the earlier tracks, including multiple versions of Susanna's and Prince's blended backgrounds for Last Heart. 2 hours of additional mixing followed, and after Prince had the work dubbed to a pair of TDK C60 tapes, the session ended at 10 a.m. Status. Last Heart, 3 minutes and 2 seconds, was released on Crystal Ball in 1998. Conversation Piece 741 would eventually be edited down to 3 minutes and 16 seconds, but all versions remain unreleased during Prince's lifetime. Everything But You would be included on Wendy and Lisa's eponymous, I can never say that word right.
That's what you said, eponymous.
Eponymous debut album released on August 25th, 1987. Note, it is possible that Last Heart was originally recorded on an earlier date, but it is unverified. I just want to say I have always loved Last Heart. I have always loved that song. What's interesting is I always thought it was a much older song. So when we had the bootleg and the bootleg was floating around, I always thought that was like a 78, 77. So just for some reason, it sounds like, and that was, I'll tell you what I had that at the same time. Remember, Witness for the Prosecution was floating around. It was that black CD that had that picture from like the nude era. So I always thought that Last Heart was an older song. So to hear that it was, during this time, was just kind of interesting. I'll tell them.
Okay, there's a lot to talk about this section alone. Well, first of all, I like the way that Prince Vault talks about Everything But You, because they say it is possible that this is a version of Wendy and Lisa's track, Everything But You from Wendy and Lisa, but this is speculative. It may instead have been written by Prince in response to the track of that name. So, I would love to hear this version of Everything But You. But with that being said, if you haven't listened to Wendy and Lisa's debut album, which is my favorite Wendy and Lisa solo project, Everything But You is a headbanger. I mean, there's this amazing guitar solo that Wendy does and Everything But You. It's a beautiful song. So I'll make sure to put that in the accompanying playlist. That's one thing I didn't get to today because of other stuff that happened yesterday. We won't go into that. And then the other thing in here, D68A says Last Heart played live once. Such a shame. That's the, you know, and like C. Lee, I didn't, when you said you thought it was an older song, I didn't think you were going to take it back to 78. But when I listened to that song, it always felt, even in real time, meaning like as a teenager, I was like, this sounds a little old.
Right.
And I like the song, but I was like, I understand why he kind of punted it. Like, I was like, where are you gonna put this? I mean, right. It's a beautiful song, right. But in terms of like his right now, especially thinking about, we've talked about, I think we even talked about this last week, like Prince's musical evolution. Like one of the things that's so special about being a Prince fan, particularly in the beginning, was how he was growing as a musician and his musical palette kept growing and growing. But I don't care what you say, like the jump from Around the World in a Day to Parade is astronomical. Like musically, like in real time, like it was like, oh my God, you know, like this is crazy. Like, so I never knew like where Last Heart could have fit into that like musical evolution, but it's a really, really beautiful song.
And what messes it up now is, and I don't know if it's like this on the actual Crystal Ball release or if I just got it queued up this way and it's going to be really random and really stupid. I can't hear Last Heart and not hear Poom Poom. Like they follow in my, like when I hear, so that to go from Last Heart.
Wild state.
So when Last Heart goes out, I hear, what? Like when you get from Last Heart to Poom Poom.
But I'm not mad at it.
Like that is, so I never hear, whenever I hear Last Heart,
Michael said,
the very next song I hear is Poom Poom. And I know they don't, era-wise, for whatever reason, those are the two songs to me that I hear together every time I hear. Because that's my configuration that I have. Okay. So my bad.
Yeah, I had that on most of the songs, but I feel you.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this comment from Kim Celia. Wow, boy.
Yes, sir. Exposed.
All right. So we have a question from Andre that I want you guys to address. So are all these tracks except Last Heart candidates for the possible Parade box set?
Well, I suppose so.
So and I guess the question is, because I think we talked a little bit about how we gonna do, how would we do the Madhouse box set?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that conversation piece. So my answer to Brother Andre would be, if we're talking chronologically, yes. If we're talking stylistically, would conversation piece be more for the Madhouse box set as opposed to for the Parade box set? But if we're talking just purely chronologically, my answer is yes. And my question would be, why not? I mean, maybe I missed something. Why not Last Heart? Because I would think that wouldn't Last Heart be also part of the Parade box set as well?
Or I think he meant because it was on the Crystal Ball thing. But I agree with your point. I think you put him on all of them if it goes with that time period. Right. I don't care if it was released before or not.
Right. Yeah, because I think the box set we're trying to do chronological stuff. So since we're trying to do chronological stuff, I would also put Last Heart and all these on there. So yeah, I'll say that.
So that's the reason why, excuse me, I guess I got Michael's giving me whatever he has over the wire.
Damn.
That's that true computer.
That's number two. Right number two. When I come back, the double barrel, don't say nothing.
hey, brother Dean, what's that line from Harlem Nights? Stop shooting that shit.
Rack them up.
Oh my God. Okay. So that's the reason why I have never understood that Teacher is on the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe. Somebody explain that to me. I want to know. And there are a lot of songs. We already talked about this the last couple of weeks that should be in the on a parade box set versus a Sign of the Times Super Deluxe box set, but we won't go there. Okay. So
Just I wanted to add to this section too, real quick. I know we didn't read that quote, but when you do read that quote, you can kind of get a sense of what it was like working with them, I suppose, at this time, at least from an engineer's perspective, which I think is pretty interesting. And I thought the quote underneath it sort of giving you more maybe the artist's perspective of how they were working with him, with slightly a little different person they get to work with than the engineer.
Oh, you know what, brother? I'm glad you said that, because it gets to yes. So at that point, the comedian Roy Wood Jr. has a new book that I just finished reading. It is phenomenal. It's called The Man of Many Fathers. There's a chapter.
Oh.
There's a chapter in that book called Keeping the Lights On. That chapter, come to your point about these two quotes from Susan Rice. That chapter, Prof. Duff, every person that's an artist in college who's thinking about being a professional artist should read Roy Wood's chapter, Keeping the Lights On, because Roy Wood specifically says that if you are a person who's planning to be a professional artist, you need to have a real relationship with someone that you're planning to make your significant relationship other. To let them know that this artistic professional ride is a motherfucker that everybody can't handle. And it is the first thing that I've seen, other than reading Miles Davis's autobiography, that really made me think about, I wish that as a 20-year-something myself, this is a conversation. But the conversation that Roy Wood Jr. has in that chapter alone, it does relate to these quotes and the other things we've been saying about Prince, about people who get on rides with artists may not understand what it means to truly be on that ride when the artist is completely sold out for the art. And that's all I'll say. I'll shut up.
I think that is a really important public service announcement, Celie, and I hope that someone who is starting their journey will really take that to heart. I'm not going to go there. I give my students sort of similar advice I have. And I just know, like, in the past, there was one student in particular who was extremely talented. And they didn't listen. And I won't go into how that sort of created, like, there's always pros and cons and consequences to all decisions that we make in life. And we all know that. But a lot of young people don't know that. So, all right, Michael, do you mind reading? It is short. You can skip the quote on Monday, January 13th.
Yeah. All right. So Splash, mix and edits, Neon Telephone mix, Neon Telephone instrumental mix, Sunset Sound Studio 3, 7 p.m., 6:30 a.m. booked, locked out. Producer Prince, artist Prince, engineers Coke Johnson and Susan Rogers. And I'm sorry, you said read the quote or not?
Oh, just skip it.
Oh, this is short. Neon Telephone and Splash were mixed, likely for an orchestra session to be overseen by Claire Fisher. The 11.5-hour session probably included other songs, but no documentation could be located. 2 C60 tapes were made of the mixes, and the session ended at 6:30 a.m. Well, that is a long session for 2 songs.
Yeah, and we forgot to emphasize that on Sunday, and Celie read it, but he didn't emphasize 3:30 p.m. until 10 a.m. So we're talking about long, very, very long days. So curious, Splash. Would we have wanted that on parade?
Me personally, after hearing it, I would say yes, or at least a 12-inch.
Yeah, like a B-side.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like this. I know we've talked about the song before, but I think it's a cool song.
Yeah. It's it's one of those called those whimsical songs. Like it has a lot of whimsy in it. So
For me, it's like it's a was it quintessential Prince song. It's like a song that only Prince could have created.
Right. So yeah, so I think the whimsy of it, I'm not mad that it's not on there, but like if you tell me it could be on there, it's one of those really whimsical songs that, like you say, like you said, quintessential Prince song. So I'm with you on that. That's it.
So for that reason, I really wish that it would have been released in real time, like as Michael said, a B-side or something like that. And I'll make sure it gets playlist if you haven't listened. I think it's one of the most beautiful songs that Prince has ever written, actually. That's how far I'll go. Now, I don't know about Neon Telephone. And the thing is, I haven't really listened to Prince's version of Neon Telephone. I can only think of the 3 o'clock version, which I detest. So,
nasty.
Yeah, Celie, have you listened to Prince's version of Neon Telephone recently? Like, is it good?
It's fantastic. Come on.
It's
in that same ballpark of Splash and
really
all of those songs in that era. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like
okay, all right.
No, let me put it this way: I like his version better. I'll say that.
Okay,
I like his version better.
All right, let's see. Oh, what's it? Karan is saying the outro on Neon Telephone is
absolutely.
Nasty.
It's just that Dream Factory. All those songs, they just have a certain sound to them. and he's able to. You know what it is? It has the feel of the Wendy and Lisa. Like when you listen to the Wendy and Lisa, like their first album, to me, it has that kind of lushness sort of feel. But Prince puts that slap on it. They always end the song where it breaks into some groove. It's still funky. It's still very soulful, but it does have the sound of, I guess to me, you can hear either, that Claire Fisher stuff adds an element to it, or the fact that they're sort of playing, no, they're going to put that in there, makes them play a certain way, a melodic way that they were locked into at that time, and just has that melodic Prince, Wendy, and Lisa sort of vibe to it, at least in my mind.
I'll tell you what I like about Neon Telephone over Splash is Neon Telephone is much more of a groove for me. Like you can do that kind of, it's right here. Like you can see like live them doing. So that's what I liked about Neon Telephone in a way for Splash. That it was a groove for me that kind of like drove the beat and the rhythm. So that's what I like most about Neon Telephone.
So there's a couple comments I want to talk about here. So Andre is saying that some of these Super Deluxe tracks make me like the songs more than when I was hearing them as a bootleg. Splash would sound great on a Super Deluxe.
That's because a lot of the bootlegs was crappy. We were just happy to hear something.
Right.
Yeah, don't forget about them live booths we had. Would sound like dude was outside the venue recording the concert. So I had a couple of them. You turn them away, and look, that's why I'm deaf in my left ear, because of turning them damn bootlegs up to try to hear it with all of that. So yes, I'm with you on that. I think that hearing it clean and pristine does kind of make. Although I do have a friend who actually said that the first time he heard a clean version of the Black Album, he didn't like it as much because it was like it took the forbidden kind of thing away from it. Like when we had, but yes, I'm with you on that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't know about taking the forbidden. It's just like, I mean, like I've said before, I prefer the mix of the bootleg version of the Black Album versus the original mix. I mean, it was a pretty good mix because that wasn't a crappy bootleg.
Right, you're right. Yeah.
So I'm curious about this comment from Frank. And Frank says, I don't know what Prince's version anymore. When I heard the original's album was heavily edited, not the way Prince's originally had. I don't remember where I heard it though. The thing is, the songs, the issue with originals is not that the songs were edited, it was how they were mixed. So it's about, so for instance, the song like the song that I play the most off of originals is Makeup because I love the mix that they did for Makeup, but if you listen to Vanity Six's version of Makeup, it is not the same mix. And like there is a part of the Lynn drum, I don't know what it's supposed to be. I don't know if it's supposed to be a cymbal crash. It's something about the original that's higher and is lower in the mix. So it just, if you've listened to a song for decades and you're looking for certain beats, and what I mean, not like beat as in drum beat, but like key moments that really stand out to you and you don't hear that same when you hear it, then it makes you go, huh, look, oh my goodness.
Yeah. What's up?
What's up, Arthur?
I just wanted to talk to my people. I had a rough week.
Oh, we happy to have you, brother.
You're at the right place.
You're in the right place. Welcome. So what we're talking about is, right now we're talking about originals. And just so you see the comment, Frank was talking about how Prince's, he doesn't know Prince's versions anymore because, with the different mixes and edits, it's not like maybe Prince's original version. And then we were also talking about the beauty of Splash. And then we were also talking about 3 O'Clock's version of Neon Telephone versus Prince's version of Neon Telephone. So anywhere you want to jump in on those conversations.
Yeah, so with the originals, I totally get it. I have, as many of us do, I'm sure, various versions of songs in different edits. And sometimes I remember listening to, I forget what song it was, but I remember listening to a song like on the originals, and I was like, that's not my version. You know what I mean? The version that I tie myself to. Had the same experience, different context, but had the same experience with the Sign of the Times deluxe box, where the version of Witness includes the background vocals and the horns, which I don't like. I like the version that doesn't have the brass, that doesn't have the Wendy and Lisa and Susanna backups, and it's just like a real core rock funk track, So I totally relate to that. And Splash is, I don't think it would have been hard to include Splash on the Around the World in a Day release that was done earlier. I really think it's like the quintessential Revolution song. It's just a really, really great song, and would have made for an amazing addition to that set. And Neon Telephone, don't really care about the 3 O'Clock version. The Revolution version is fantastic. Yeah. It's one of my favorite Revolution songs. It's also the song that I would have replaced Kiss with on Parade. I think that it is a song that, a part of Parade as an album, I think it's a song that really gets to like the apex of what that Revolution era was like, in the name of like what's next. Like I was talking about, hey, in 85, it was kind of a closing the book on the quote unquote Minneapolis sound. And he's moving away from that, going toward another direction. And I think Splash is like the capstone of that revolution, that classic Minneapolis sound revolution area. And then moving away from it is what we get, with Parade. And I think Neon Telephone is a real highlight of that.
All right. Well, I got to listen to Neon Telephone as soon as we get off this call.
Because not your jam, huh?
Well, I mean, the thing is, because I never listened to Prince's version because I hate the 3 O'Clock version so much. Because the 3 O'Clock version was the first one that I heard, in real time. And so, like, I don't have time to go be listening to Prince's version when this song sucks. But I am going to go back and listen to it. But you are making a bold claim, Arthur. I don't see anyone. Wait, see, I was saying nobody's talking about this.
Wait, y'all didn't know that? I have always believed since I was 15 years old that Kiss was an odd inclusion for Parade because it completely takes you away from the tone of the rest of the album. And while the Neon Telephone thing is reasonably recent, like I was kind of thinking, okay, well, if you take Kiss out of it, like, would you put it in there? I think Neon Telephone is a great drop in because coming behind Do You Lie on side 2 of Parade, where you have that French tone, no Lindrum and all of that, going into Neon Telephone, which is very synth heavy and 80s 4 on the floor. You still get that halftime breakdown at the end of Neon Telephone that gives you a precursor for Another Lover, Hole in Your Head, as is.
I actually agree. I agree with this take on how Kiss doesn't necessarily flow with the album, but I think if you do take it off, I think the album bombs. Like, well, I don't see without that first single.
But see, here's the thing, and I'm looking at it's small here, but yeah, that's it. It's a standalone single. 1986. Prince could have done a standalone. Still be promoting the album, technically promoting the film, because see, that's the thing about, like, if you check it out this way, there was a whole video done with Girls and Boys, right?
Right.
They were in the club. The motif was the same, black and white. The whole revolution was there, in the same club with what the record store scene, right? With Tricky and Chris and Homegirl. We don't see that in 1986. I'm thinking, in reality, I think that was intended to be the lead single, Girls and Boys. But because Kiss was included, great video. It's actually my favorite Prince video, just him and Wendy and the dancer in it. I love it. But it's got nothing to do with promoting a film. It's got nothing to do with that at all, Whereas the Girls and Boys video that we didn't see, the Mountains video, all have that same Christopher Tracy, South of France parade motif to tie in with the film.
That's what I'm saying. You take that out of it, though. I don't think, and I'm not saying that I feel this way, but I just think the Kiss is bigger than the film because
that's the thing. Kiss is bigger than the film.
That there's nothing I don't think in that film that the audience is going to be an easy general person to. Oh, this is, you know what I mean? Like, I think Kiss gives you enough that this is that Prince and remember.
Right, but it's also new.
Right, but the other stuff I think is so advanced. I don't think the audience, the general audience, obviously they didn't take to it, right? Because after Kiss, they didn't take to Girls and Boys was a single. They didn't take to Another Lover. Those are great, but they didn't blow up. So I'm just saying, I think that the movie ultimately really just fails because there's nothing that connects to the people, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not even remotely going to say that Kiss wasn't essential to driving sales of Parade, but I feel that's much more of a business decision for its inclusion than an artistic one. Not saying that there may not have been an artistic one, because I mean, we know that Prince was very particular about how he sequenced and how his albums were, both on the sides A's and and the side B's and everything. But I mean,
so I'll.
What up, Ted?
Hey, Ted.
I'll be the contrarian in that. Because I enter songs lyrically, Kiss is the lyrical climax for Parade. For Under the Cherry Moon. When I heard the lyrics to Kiss, I actually completely understood the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the When Doves Cry moment of the
right. It is. Yeah. See, yeah, it is the so. I get what everybody's saying sonically. I'm not. I want to be clear. I'm not disagreeing with anybody sonically, but lyrically, I'm glad you put it that way, Brother Dean. Lyrically, Kiss is similar. I would say it's a When Doves Cry moment or a Purple Rain moment. In that, it is the moment where we see Christopher truly give himself over to the answer to love or money. Kiss lyrically is the answer. Love or money. Love or money is a question. I think we forget that because it's so funny. Love or money is an actual question. The lyrics to Kiss answer Because remember, how does Love and Money end? With him saying what it's gonna be, right? What it's gonna get in. Love. So then when you hear, so the moment that Christopher is in the car with Mary Sharon, because Mary Sharon at this point, why is she pissed off? Because this was a ruse. This was, you only wanted me for you made me fall in love with you, but you only wanted me for my money. And when
and what's wrong with that? And what's wrong with that?
Yeah, and brother, you sound like my uncle when Prince rejected the check, and my uncle was like, I don't understand that shit, boy. But let's move on. So, and he said,
I don't see no problem.
He says, I love you, and Mary Sharon said, no, you don't love me. He said, well, then I hate you. And at that moment, she is then having to really, for herself, does this dude love me, or was it about money? So I say that lyrically, I want to be clear. I agree that sonically, I always felt like, sonically, it was a different thing. But lyrically, it is the moment that Prince through Christopher Tracy. It is the same reason that people don't really understand the meaning to the song Sexy Motherfucker. Because you hear Sexy Motherfucker shaking that ass for 5 minutes. And you completely forget the
and
first
I don't see no problem with that.
In a word, the first lyric is in a word or two. Is you I want to do. No, not your body, your mind, you fool. Sexy Motherfucker is Prince saying that what makes you a truly sexy motherfucker is that you are a spiritually and emotionally together person. But we don't.
Yeah, but they also saying to throw that ass in the sun.
Right. We don't get that because that. And so so I'll just end by saying that. So I'm with y'all. Sonically, it may not, but lyrically, you cannot tell the story on that album without the lyrics of Kiss. I'll shut up.
You know what, Reverend? You know what, Reverend? No.
Stop.
Because I haven't thought about it like that in a long time. But that's what made me pop in, because I was spying on y'all. I said, that's true, man. Kiss is like, something real different. But you know what it made? Would have put Parade and really under the cherry moon over the top was if Arms of Orion was on there.
All right,
Cut his mic off.
hang on a second. So there's never been a time, Ted, I'm gonna let you finish. There's never been a time.
No, you don't want to let me finish. Trust me, you don't want to let me finish.
There's never been a time that I've gotten into it with Celia on a. This might be the time. And when we talk about all of this, obviously we're talking about events of 40 years ago, or 30 years ago, or 20 years ago. So we have the hindsight of being able to look back and apply these experiences to our own life events as we mature. Okay. I remember in 86 in the theater that when Kiss came on, the reaction was verbal, like, oh, here's the song. It was about the excitement of the song, because it's so great and powerful, being dropped into the film. And I say drop in because it's the most on the nose scene in the whole film.
Right.
And it just never, it's always, for me personally, I'm always giving my personal opinion. That being said, I am going to be proxy for like 5,000-6,000 people at the same time. It's always been a thing where it's like, this doesn't, like, it's like the action sequence of the film. It doesn't have anything to do with moving the story along, that they finally, kiss in the car and then the song comes on. Whereas Neon Telephone is part of the narrative of the story as a soundtrack to support a film and its narrative. And so I just never had that feeling about Kiss in the film, or on the album. Now, here's the thing. I love Kiss, but I respect the fact that it's got nothing to do with the conversation, because I'm like dragging the song, right? So I kind of feel like if Parade was really going to be the soundtrack of the film, it should end to end adhere to that agenda. And I just feel that Kiss was more of a business decision to drive sales of both the album and the film, to, just to help its success. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't skip it when it comes on Parade. I mean, I'll always listen to Parade, end to end, but it's always been kind of a look twice, like that doesn't really fit.
So,
And I agree with that. It's an incredible long version.
yeah.
I just
So
wanted to add too that real quick. We talked about the movie and it being in the movie. And I was saying, sort of placed in there the same way When Doves Cry is placed in the Purple Rain movie. You gotta. I have to tell myself, at least I'm hoping they didn't know it was going to be a hit when they're editing this movie, though.
That's my
You know what I mean? Prince obviously knew this song can be a hit and should be, but they didn't know that it was going to work. But they knew enough to know that use it right here in the movie because it is going to elicit a reaction. Because this song is the this is me. This song is the Prince that they know and love, and they're gonna
Right.
love this.
Right.
This other stuff we know is, but this they're gonna eat this up. And I think he knows what his audience, or at least the general public, would eat up that he does, and he makes a distinct decision to either do that style or not. And his previous albums, he's made the decision, I'm not doing that style on purpose because I'm going to be on some other stuff. But I think he knows, I need to make sure that this thing works. And if they like these grits over here with the butter and all, that's just a no-brainer. I'm going to give them the grits and butter because I'm not playing around here. And I think that's what he's doing. The same fact that he recognizes when he hears that song originally, it was supposed to be an afterthought. And I'm gonna just give Brown Mark some more bullshit there. Oh, nah, I need that. Matter of fact,
it's too good
I'm
for
not gonna
them.
even tell Mark and them that this is gonna be the lead single. He ain't gonna find out till he see the video on TV because that's how much I know this is gonna blow. So to me, I think he knows exactly what he was doing, and he needs to have that to make it work. Like this is, and he was great in this period. His first singles were usually bangers,
Right.
because he knew, like, I knew
Right.
they don't like
Right.
nothing else on this
Right.
record. It's the one
Right.
song that they're gonna get and they're gonna always listen to. So I think that's what he was doing.
Right.
My only point is that, and I don't disagree. I want to be clear. I don't disagree. I think two things can be true at once, right? That this could be a great economic decision. What I think is happening, though, is that the economic decision is causing y'all to actually discount the lyrical content of the song. And if we're gonna do if we're gonna just say deconstruct the film for a moment, if we look at the theme of the movie, love is more important than money. The message of Kiss is it's the simple things that make love worth living. Like lyrically,
You could argue "Love or Money" would have been the song to pick too.
Well, you don't have to be rich to be my girl, right?
right?
That's
right.
where you're.
You don't have to be rich to be my girl. So
But it helps. But it helps.
I mean, I'm not going, right? I'm not going to discount that. And I just want to be clear. My point is not that y'all, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that y'all. I agree with y'all that it economically helped, right? It economically helped. I just think that because of its sonics, you may be discounting that the lyric of the song actually carries and fulfills the narrative of the movie.
Yeah, okay.
And that's to me why it works, because I will admit, there are a lot of songs that I don't dig sonically, that I dig them primarily, and I'm gonna do a flip-flop the way kind of me and Prof Duff kind of listen to songs. Like there are songs that because there are songs that if they don't move me lyrically, I can't listen to them sonically. Like I'm just that linked into. So for me, that Kiss, I was with y'all. I knew that Kiss didn't sonically sound like everything that was on Parade, but it lyrically flowed in the narrative of the song. And the only thing other thing I add, because I was trying to find the name of the album, which is going to be kind of archaic, but I wanted to go to this point. The reason why Kiss couldn't have been a standalone single and not on the album is because Elvis Presley did the same thing with the song Suspicious Minds. And to this day, people only remember the Suspicious Minds song, and they don't remember that the album, because the album came out of some recordings that was called the American Sound Studio Sessions, and I was trying to find the actual album. So Elvis recorded Suspicious Minds at the same time he recorded 10 other songs. It was called known as the American Sounds Session. And it was because it was the first time that he kicked the Memphis Mafia. Everybody thought that the Memphis Mafia was holding Elvis back musically, and they were, right? They was just some angles on that was fucking up his sound. So he records these 11 to 12 songs. They drop Suspicious Minds as a single. It's not on the damn album. So the album did not do what Suspicious Minds did. So that's why I would say that I get that Kiss isn't sonically a part of the sound of Parade.
Yeah.
But if you just have Kiss and you had this other album over here,
yeah,
I think people would have been confused as hell and not mess with the album in the same way that it messed up whatever that album was, the name I can't remember, that Elvis did at the same time Suspicious Minds. I'll shut up. And I know I just gave y'all two things to think about. My bad.
Just to throw, I think if you take it off the album and you put it out, Kiss would have been Erotic City. It would have been a 12-inch that blew up, and we would go, whoa, this is the jam. But it would have been a song that would have been a classic, just the same way Erotic City would have been a classic. I could see it have been done that way as well.
Yeah, but my question to you is Parade strong enough sonically in a way that Purple Rain was sonically to not be overshadowed by Erotic City in the way that I'm thinking Kiss would have overshadowed Parade the way Suspicious Minds overshadowed whatever that Elvis album.
I would say sonically, Parade. I wouldn't even to compare it to Purple Rain. I would compare it to what came before it, because I think at this point the audience's expectation had already had their bubble busted when Around the World in a Day came out, to realize he's not going to copy what he did before. So this to be expected is going to be something different. And I think this is exactly why he put Kiss out, because the expectation was you wasn't going to get, the thing that disappeared. You're not going to get everything that people thought they were going to get 2 years ago. Let me finally give you something like that. So I would say, I think the song sonically will work, but the movie itself, Purple Rain, is just as big as the album. Luckily, in this case, the movie is forgotten, and so people don't even think about the movie when they hear Kiss today. The general public does not associate Kiss with Under the Cherry Moon, because the song was bigger than the movie. And so I think, but you take that out of it, then it just would have been, like I said, another great Prince song. That would have been great, and no one would have thought about the movie, and they still don't think about the movie even when it was associated with it. So I think the song was bigger than the movie anyway.
Yeah, I think you bring up some interesting points. Let me ask you a question, Mike. You might not remember this, but a while ago, 8 years ago or so, you had me on one of your shows, and we were talking about Prince in the 90s. We were on for like 3 hours or something like that.
That show is still very much talked about on YouTube.
And there was something that you said early in the recording where you were talking about, I believe it was your cousin. And you had said that your cousin had checked out after Around the World in a Day.
Yeah.
And we were like flabbergasted, like, did your cousin, that same cousin who checked out, check in for Kiss? To the point of, you've got a strong song and it's got that Erotic City energy.
So I remember going, because she lived across the street from me, so I went over there when the video came out, and because I'm the new fan and she was the old one, so I'm trying to know you saw this. And there was, this is cool, but again, I'm just saying, just for her, I'm not speaking for all of the Black people. Looking at him visually, he was not the same
version of
as
Prince,
Purple
right?
Rain, and
He wasn't the
specifically
kid.
1999 and Controversy and Dirty Mind that she fell in love with. So
Mhm.
she had already sort of like, he's not playing for me.
Right.
You know, if you
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying. So I think she's still a fan but it was not her go-to thing.
Okay,
And
because that's what I'm saying. It's like, is it going to call back or is he going to hold? Because
yeah, this is before the movie comes out. Now, after that movie comes out, and his love
it's a wrap.
I can't think of another artist. And this kind of goes back to the conversation we were having, I think, last week about Prince being funk or not. Like that period from 1999, Purple Rain, Around the World, and like there's so many things different, like kind of vastly different things happening. Like he's like, yeah, I'm gonna let y'all chew on this, but I'm already on to the next thing. You either gonna get on it or you ain't gonna get on it, but I'm gonna do this. I cannot think of another artist during that time or since that was on his or her or their own wave in the same way. You feel what I'm saying? But I can't stay on too long. I heard you guys talking. I wanted to pop in. Beautiful Arthur Seeley, beautiful conversation, and I agree so much. I gotta go. Long live Pretty Ricky.
Nice. It's good to see you, Ted.
Good to see you. And so to that point, because I want Brother Turnbull to jump in. Ted's point does speak directly to Brother Turnbull's masterful presentation, Prince working in two timelines. So he kind of served that up. And I don't know if that's where you're going to go, Brother Turnbull, or somewhere else, but I think it serves up the point. And then, so the question, where does Kiss fit into Prince working in two timelines, right? One for now and one for later, which I think is perfectly fit. I just want people to know in the chat, I'm saying, I'm only talking lyrically about Kiss. I'm just talking lyrically about what does it do. But anyway, I didn't know if you wanted to address two timelines or something else.
Can I also, along the two timelines, Frank a gazillion years ago posted this. I think it's a really interesting comment. If Prince sat on Kiss until Batman, still would have been a banger, would have fit just as much as Parade. I'm curious how your thoughts on that in terms of the two timeline conversation.
Yeah, I never even thought of that. You're absolutely right. Bruce Wayne or the Joker being the one being the voice for that song. That is a song that, I mean, Kiss is a gift that keeps on giving. Right. Really. Right. It really is. And I forget who made the point. It might have been Michael, but the whole thing about it needing to be a banger. And is, if you take Kiss out of it, is it the banger that Erotic City is, independent of the album Purple Rain? Because Purple Rain got, heat all, through it. And I hadn't thought of that either. But if you think about Prince's position in 85, 86, really, he does have to begin to punch through, because not only does he have copycats, right, but he also has Fresh Blood. Janet's album Control just released the month before Parade released, probably around the same. I think it released just before the Kiss single release, because that came out before the album. But he's got that going. He's got Whitney. He's got Luther. He's got New Edition. He's got these other groups. He's got Sting independently. He's got Tears for Fears. He's got, you know what I'm saying? So it's like he's got to punch through all of that to stay relevant.
And he has hip hop change.
And he has the advent hit. 1986, biggest year for hip hop. You've got the Beastie Boys on the cover of Rolling Stone. Excuse me. You've got Run DMC on the cover of Rolling Stone. You've got the Beastie Boys with the first Billboard #1 album from a rap artist. And you've got the debut and emergence of Rakim. You do have a lot of stuff that's going on that Prince, if he's paying attention to it or not, he's got to punch through to be able to stay relevant, even though, yes, he's working on this whole other agenda.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, at the point too, we're talking about the two timelines. I think Prince was always good of pulling a song he recorded earlier and shaping it to whatever time it needed to be, working for it. Whether or not this is a New Power Generation, the same sort of way. Like, that was a song. He pulled that from, we didn't use this for the time. Shit, I'll make this work.
Right.
And now, or we see other songs that are on Sign of the Times and stuff. Oh, that song dated back to '79, and he redid it in '87 and put it on. So he's always good at pulling his past stuff and reshaping it for the current sonic times of the world. They're still, in a sense, Prince songs. I think what's the song that Shaka Khan did?
I feel for you.
I feel for you speaks to that, even though he didn't necessarily, but it just goes to show the core of his songs can work in any period if done correct, done correctly. So taking, I would, the Shaka, I can't even think. I feel for you, and making it a song that incorporates hip hop and all this other stuff in it. I know that's not what he envisioned, but it worked still. It's still the same song, but it works no matter what sonically you put it into.
Melissa Morgan did that too with Do Me Baby.
I wanted to ask y'all about that. I wanted to ask y'all about a real-time question. When Melissa Morgan comes out with Do Me Baby, and we've had I Feel For You, what was you guys' mentality? Because I hate the word mindset. What was you guys' mentality as we're getting more? Because and for me, I'm thinking, because I was already aware of Stephanie Mills's How Come You Don't Call Me, and I know I'm probably gonna get bricks and rocks thrown at me, but I've always liked the Stephanie Mills version a little bit more than Alicia Keys, and I like both of them, by the way. I like both of them, but for me,
I love Bilal's version of How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore, which is a B-side from a single on his first album. A lot of people don't talk about that. So there
you go. So my question is, by the time we get to Shaka, by the time we get to Melissa, we're getting now an onslaught of Prince covers. Like, Prince is getting to that point where he is covered. And my question is, what were you guys thinking about when that was happening?
I didn't like them. I didn't like none of them.
None of them.
Wow.
I'm serious. In real time, I didn't like none of them. I didn't like Shaka Khan's I Feel For You. I didn't like none of them. It's kind of like, I don't like to hear covers of Jimi Hendrix's songs. I don't like to hear covers of Prince songs. Obviously, there are some covers that I do like now, but in real time, I wasn't for it. Also, like with the song. So for me, I listened to Prince because Prince was musically different than almost any other artist. And the artists that were covering him were really rooted in particular musical genres that didn't appeal to me, because I was a child of Prince and I wanted musical versatility and not being like so pigeonholed with a musical genre. So Melissa Morgan's Do Me Baby, I truly detest it. This really did not like that. And also because Do Me Baby is a song that I think that should not be covered, because Prince did a mic drop. Like, why would you want to cover Do Me Baby? Like, what else can you do to that Prince hasn't already done? That's just me. But I understand the need for covers. But for me, it was happening too soon. Like, it was like in real time. Like, Prince didn't need no covers. It's different like when an artist gets, maybe a decade or two into their career and you need to remember what that artist was like. But Prince was there, so like we don't need to know about Prince because he's, doing his own thing. So that's just me.
Before Brother Dean and Brother Turnbull jump in, it's funny that your last point that you make, because what's really interesting is that has changed. Like, I'm not a covers person, and but I've never been a covers person. I think people remember I wrote the article about there are only 30 covers out of the hundreds and thousands that actually wasn't a waste of time. But what's interesting when you make that last point is I think people forget that covering songs within the first 3 months of the song used to be typical. I'll give you I was trying to think of the Temptation song. What's the Temptation song that was a hit? And then somebody else, like, it was like literally people would cover songs within the first 2 to 6 months. And then something happened where people started covering like later on songs. So I get your point that, hey, Prince is kind of new and fresh, and why I think people were going back to that moment of you could have a song within a year's time and cover it, it just seems so new to us because people hadn't been doing it. Anyway, I shut up because I want you guys to, if anybody wants to chime in on just what they were thinking when those covers were coming out.
I'm with D'Angelo. In real time, I didn't care for. I didn't hate it, but I just didn't want to hear anybody doing Prince's stuff. Aside, now I'll say this: the Shaka Khan thing. I had not heard Prince's version before I heard hers, and I thought that song was dope that she did. Like I was like, for a long time, hers was the original to me because that was what I heard first, and it was just blasted all over the place. But then there were other Prince songs that I'm trying to think. I just didn't care for. But I think it probably wasn't until D'Angelo that I was like, you know what? Now that's a cover of a Prince song. Like I can get behind this, and that was probably the first time I really loved to hear his songs being covered. I was going to say something else about that, but I just can't remember. But I guess in a sense, I would say, as Prince sort of grew in his career, he's covering stuff, obviously, and putting them out as songs.
Which I also did not like.
Right. But then I started to, when some of the songs I had not heard before, so I was hearing them, Prince, for the first time. And I liked the way he was. I mean, I liked the songs. Like, was the One of Us, I think it was.
Yeah.
Which I knew it was a big hit, but I just didn't really listen to it. But when I heard, I was like, yo, what is this? I was like, I like this. And it made me go listen to the original. I was like, damn, he killed that. And I was like, he can do some songs where he'll just take it and, and destroy them. Like, they'll be dope. And I think if you're an, I know I was going to say, I think if you're an artist that can do that, you can do that. And I think, to me, like Whitney Houston is the perfect example. What's the song, the George Benson song? I believe
Greatest Love of All.
Yeah.
To me, I grew up hearing that as a George Benson thing, and I want to say I saw it in the movie.
Yep,
it was Muhammad Ali movie.
Where Muhammad Ali played himself.
Yeah, I saw that as a child, so I always associated with that. So when I heard her, I was like, but then I was like, yo, this is amazing. So I think covers can be done if the artist is capable of ripping a song to shreds. They're gonna do that.
Brother Turnbull, before you jump in, did you make me think about something? And I want you to don't act, but so probably I'm going to say something, circle back. It's interesting that you said what you said about categories, because until you said that, the other question for me is thinking about Brother Dean's friend who lived across the street. Cousin who lived across the street. How many of these covers that we're talking about, Melissa Morgan, Shaka Khan's, how many of these covers are in a way certain Black people trying to take back what they think is being taken from them by Prince having crossed over?
Say that again?
How many of these covers are coming at a moment where you have certain Black artists? You got the Stephanie Mills cover, you got the Melissa Morgan cover, you got the Shaka Khan cover, and of course, mostly women, who are making either a conscious or subconscious attempt to say that this is our dude, regardless of how much he blows up and crosses over.
Interesting.
And I'm not saying that they are against crossing over. It just seems to be at the time that Prince is becoming kind of this, for people who didn't know Prince like we did before 1999. So probably I'm thinking about the people who are not you who discovered Prince at Purple Rain.
Right.
How much of these covers?
Purple Rain.
Right. How much of these Stephanie Mills, Melissa Morgan, Shaka Khan covers are them talking to people who discovered Prince after Purple Rain? They're like, no, he started over here. And that's not really an answer, a question that we can answer. I just find it interesting that those things are happening at the same time that Prince is getting this newfound audience after Purple Rain. And I didn't know what conversation that was.
Just to add to that, I think, you know what? I think it speaks to, the early audience of Prince, who, really made Prince to be successful, because it was, in my opinion, I think Black women who really identified with Prince so early on. I think it just goes to show, like, it was such a thing that, these other women artists they loved it just as much as the audience did, and I think they're just trying to showing their love. Like you kind of, I don't know, you know what I mean? It may be a subconscious thing to think of the way you're saying, but I do think it does speak to how much he really spoke to that audience so early on that they are covering those songs because it was such a, you know, almost in the same way when you think of like Mary J or something, you know, early Mary J, you know, Sisters was
right.
That's our thing, you know, and I think those early songs are always going to play because those were part of them growing up. And so to hear the artists sort of covering that they come from that. I think, I wonder if that sort of speaks to something like that. That's what I'm gleaming from what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love this comment from Kim, the R&B covers that my mama will listen to because she ain't listening to Prince like that.
Hey, I told y'all, my mama called Prince that little narrow booty pervert. That was her name for him. She called him that little narrow booty pervert. So I'm with my mama was with Kim's mama.
All right.
You know,
go ahead, brother Timber. I'm sorry. I mean,
no, if she wants to move on, you know.
No, go ahead.
So I cherry pick covers that I like also. And I think many of us do. It's one cover that really stands out to me. Actually, I heard before Purple Rain. Forgive me. But it was done by Tina Turner. Yeah. And she did a cover of Let's Pretend We're Married.
Yeah.
And it was like full on ICAT kind of energy behind it. And the interesting thing about that was as part of my journey to just be fully immersed, you know, in Prince, well documented, listened to a lot of rock and roll, but I also listened to a lot of new wave. And there was this radio station in San Francisco called the Quake, KQAK. And along with their rotation of, you know, OMD and Spandau Ballet and Depeche Mode and like all of that, they would throw in like a lot of Prince. They were like kind of Prince heavy too. And that's where I heard this cover. They would play Let's Pretend We're Married from 1999. They would also play this cover. And knowing as much about Tina Turner as I did, which was enough to know that she was like a big deal. But other than that, it really was like a check against the quality of his music and also checking the next thing, like the artist to be up on. And that's what Prince was prior to 1999. You know, he's the one that you need to be on. I never thought about the idea of the reclamation of Prince post Purple Rain, but I do think that was in play, and I think it was in play for a few reasons. One being like a coattail thing, like anything that had anything remotely to do with Prince was hot, or at least trying out to see if it was gonna, be hot and successful. And it also could be the public persona of Prince and the private persona of Prince as people knew him, throughout the industry.
Right.
And you had fans, because like some of these artists were like straight up fans of him. I get into the relationship between Prince and Miles Davis, which goes before 1986, where Miles started out like as a fan in the same way that Miles was a fan of Jimi Hendrix and Miles was a fan of Slash Stone, and began to build relationships, with him. But Miles really liked his music, and seeing these covers come out pre Purple Rain and maybe immediately after, it did hold those two not extremes, but those two positions for me. The idea of, the next thing, respect the artist, and post the thing that blew up, and now I got to attach myself to it because it's a rocket ship. Yes. Here's a real interesting thing. I feel like there's like a fine line between a cover and an artist that gave somebody a song, right? So like Jay-Z wrote lyrics for Dr. Dre. Right. Ice Cube wrote lyrics for Eazy-E, right? Prince gave a song to Andre Simone that he had already had finished. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like no guide track. It was like, here's the song. I just didn't use it. I got that hit for you. We're not gonna judge Andre as doing a cover or as sort of like a off-brand, also ran Prince song, right? Because we're just snobs for it. But by definition, isn't that kind of the same?
I would say the only reason I would say it isn't is because what makes it a difference is an official song gives us something of which to judge it against.
Like we never heard it before.
Right, exactly. So so that I think that's the only problem. Because then what happens is, having heard one thing first, unfortunately, our minds are automatically programmed to compare. But if
okay.
If you never heard it before, that's really what the cover thing is. It is now I'm having to compare to things as opposed to somebody just writing a song for, or somebody just giving a song to somebody. And I want other people to answer that question, but what was on my mind when you're talking about that, because that's what I really love about Miles' book, about Miles being a fan. I just want to say something to you, just not even a question, just want to say something to you. So you got Band of Gypsies.
Right.
Okay, watch this. Miles leaves music for Jimi Hendrix. Jimmy comes to the party. Miles doesn't know that Jimmy can't fucking read music. And so Miles leaves, and so Jimmy leaves. What the fuck could we have gotten had Miles been there that day that Jimmy was there?
Right.
Because Miles is leaving music to collaborate with Jimi Hendrix. That means that the only thing that stood between a Miles Davis and Jimi Hendrix collaboration was that Jimmy couldn't fucking read music. And that has messed with my mind ever since the first time, which has nothing to do with when you were talking about Miles being a fan of people.
Right.
And being a fan of people led to him wanting to work with people. We were that close to having a Miles Jimi Hendrix collaboration. I'll shut up.
You know, too, one thing I think, in particular, the Prince songs and covers, I think when you talk about Prince, ghostwriting or producing the song for somebody, they're copying the way Prince sings the song when it comes out. Like when you go back and you hear the Prince version, oh, they're singing it exactly like Prince sang the song. Or whereas a cover, they're not doing that. They're doing their interpretation of the song, not following the way Prince sang it. I think that's one of the bigger things. And they're doing it. There's either one, they're doing it for a song they don't think you know much about, so there isn't much comparison. Like I feel for you, the general public didn't hear Prince's version, so they have nothing to compare it to. But I think when you take a song, and that's why I give D'Angelo points, because he's taking songs that at least the fan base really knows very well, and he's doing his own interpretation of them in a way that is very different from what you did, but in a way, but in his style of doing songs. And I think it works. And I think when an artist can take their style and take somebody else's song and add to it, it works. I think one of the great, to me, one of the greatest cover songs, and I knew it was a cover when I heard it, but we jammed it anyway, and some people like it, was Lean on Me. I think when Lean on Me came out, was it Club Nouveau?
Yep, Club Nouveau.
I knew it was a cover, but that song was a monster hit, and I think there are certain songs that are bigger in pop culture than even sometimes the artists that put them out. There's songs that are true songs that live on past the artistry of the person who created that. And I would love to see that for Prince, where the songs become so synonymous. They're just because they're fantastic songs that, they'll still have the essence of what he did, but they could work in any time frame. Even 50 years from now, somebody could pull, it may be hard for us to see. If somebody pulled Purple Rain and did a cover 50 years from now and it becomes this thing, I would love to see that, because I think the song is great enough to be translated across time. But I guess that's something we'll see. But I think the great covers that we've seen through pop culture, those songs work. There's just some classic songs that are gonna always work, or they'll be kind of mixed in with songs of today. And the last thing I'll say is the same way, it may be a cover, but I think sampling sort of works on that same sort of premise, where it sort of pulls the universal thing from a song that works and it can be reinterpreted and make it even greater, but it still has that. I think James Brown's music was like that. Like it worked regardless. It was the essence of it worked, but it became something new with hip hop. And it spawned something else. And that'd be interesting to see Prince's music. I think it already has done that. We've seen people who were born through that or listened to that music, and it has sort of embedded itself in what they do in a certain way. You could pick it out and hear. I think Prince himself did that. You could argue he was covering artists the whole time, but he just put his own spin on in a way that, and most of us had no idea he was pulling stuff from other songs, because I didn't have the musical knowledge to understand Sly, James enough to understand what he was doing. But now I can listen to these songs like, oh boy, he was a very slick guy. Like he was kind of pulling from this and he was pulling from that. And I think he did it great. He was, again, but now, by listening to the rehearsals we see, yeah, he was doing covers from day one. Like that was, the band was a cover band. Grand Central, that's his bread, and that's what he is actually. Right. So it's ironic when you hear, oh, I don't like this, but in his core, that he would not be who he is if he had not been a cover band. Right. The jamming of those songs back then is what sharpened his thing, and I think his musical knowledge was so thick that now I can write my own shit because I studied everything. And I'm pulling from all of that. And that's why, and I think that's why the greats recognized that in him and was like, he knows our shit. Right. And he can play it very goddamn well. Because most of these young kids can't do that. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? How did he know that groove? Right. You from Minneapolis? How the hell you know how to do? And you can jump right in there with the greats. And I think that's what made Prince great.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to Neon Telephone.
But I also think that I'm glad you highlighted Kim's point, because it also speaks to the fact that when we talk about the American sound book, I think the one thing about the American sound book is that it got perverted to the American song book is flexible. The way it was given to us is these are the only 50 songs that are the American sound. Now, the American song book will be songs that we will continue to add to it. And so in hearing what Brother Dean was saying was that at some point, a lot of Prince's work or some of Prince's work, to whatever degree, will be added to the American songbook, and it will become a standard that local bands and local singers and people going into contests, choosing songs to sing, because they'll be so far away from it 50, 60 years from now that it won't just be tied to Prince, where people will say they'll go into whatever American Idol is 70 years from now. What are you going to sing? I'm going to sing whatever. And it's, the old Prince standard.
Yeah. What was the song somebody mentioned? Do Me, Baby. You talked about that becomes To Live and Die in LA. Right. But it's used in a whole different way. But if you didn't have that song wouldn't exist. Like it translated into something else. I just think we're probably going to hear his music. It just won't be in a way that we traditionally may want it to be, or that we understand what's coming. But it's gonna come. It does happen. That's how he got here. Somebody's gonna already right now. There's kids probably we don't hear it that have
y'all killing me with this Arms of Orion
and put it all through stuff, man.
Oh, you just don't know, Arthur. We've been talking about Arms of Orion almost every episode. It's the
and Brother Turnbull, just so you know, I am the only person who stands 10 toes down for Arms of Orion. Everybody else is assassinating that song, and I'm here to give Arms of Orion a hug every chance. You know why?
Sheena.
No, because it's a song that I can do like this.
We call that fairy flying.
Made me a meme the last time with the thing. I was a meme on the cover for that episode.
Oh my God, yes. All right. So Arthur, do you have your book?
Came prepared.
All right. So Wednesday. Wait. You wrote that? Yeah, Tuesday, January 14th. You got to read all the songs.
Woo.
You can
And
skip.
it ain't a bad song on that list. That lets you know it's not one bad song on there.
No, it's not. All right. Let me do Sealy style with the magnification. It's going to be the last time. All right. Tuesday, January the 14th, 1986. Yeah, it's like way crazy. All right. Here we go. We've got Kiss extended version mix. We've got Go overdubs, possibly Wendy and Lisa. Go an instrumental. Neon Telephone. These are all mixes. Eternity instrumental. Another Neon Telephone mix. 2 Sexual Suicide mixes. 1 instrumental, 1 vocal. Alexa de Paris. Lover Money. Old Friends for Sale. The orchestra mix. Splash. And Last Heart. Oh man, that's a great song. This was at Sunset Sound, 11:30 a.m. to, good lord, 1:30 a.m. booked lockout. We've got Prince producing, the artist, as well as Susan Rogers and Coke Johnson on the boards.
We're skipping.
There is. You want me to skip Lisa's quote?
Yeah, skipping.
Love for Lisa. 5 hours after the previous session, Prince was back with another full plate of work. At least 10 tracks were mixed or overdubbed during his shift, including, but not limited to, Go, Neon Telephone, Eternity, Sexual Suicide, Alexa de Paris, Lover Money, Old Friends for Sale, Splash, Last Heart, as well as the extended version of Kiss. Instrumental versions were created from at least 3 of the tracks, Go, Eternity, and Sexual Suicide, and Claire Fisher's orchestration was likely blended with at least 1 track, Old Friends for Sale. After a 2-hour break at 4 p.m., Wendy and Lisa added their vocals and a few overdubs to Go, a track from September. It is possible that Wendy and Lisa also did some work on the long version of Kiss. At the end of the session, Prince didn't have Sunset Sound supply any cassettes for dubbing, so it appears Prince added these tracks to a tape that he may have already had from a previous session.
Wow. I was looking at the list of songs, and we are in like one of my favorite periods. So just want to put that out. But all of these songs in one day, mixing like this, I will say I just wish that they spent more time on the individual songs. But as I'm sort of scrolling past the pages, I do see they're spending that time with Kiss. But I don't think it's necessarily the best way to be mixing all of these songs one after the other in one session. But other than that, I can't imagine sitting there listening to all of this work. This is such a this is excellent stuff. From 11:30 to 1:30 a.m. Man, that's just that boggles the mind of the endurance of the ear endurance, I should say, as an engineer, to be really dialing into tracks. Maybe it speaks to the quality of Susan Rogers and Coke Johnson. But yeah, it's just interesting that they cram so much into one session in terms of mixing. But
I think you have a really good point, Michael, because with my students, I often tell them, and we're doing more visual work than we are doing audio work, but I tell them that all-nighters are not a good thing. You need space, but to evaluate whether or not something is good. Like, you see things that you normally wouldn't see if you have some rest and that you're not exhausted and you're trying to do all of this all at one time, because you have to have some separation. There was this photographer, one of my favorite photographers, his name was Gary Winogrand. He would shoot, and he was shooting on film, and not digital, shooting on film, because it was back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. He would sit on those negatives for a year sometimes before he would even print them, just so that he would be, further along in his art. He would have grown as an artist. So he was a better evaluator of his photographs, because, like when you take multiple photographs, or in Prince's case, he's recording all these different songs, sometimes you lose your taste barometer. Like, is this really good? Because you don't have any perspective, because you're kind of like in the rabbit hole of creation, if that makes any sense. And so I hear your point very much about, maybe they should have taken their time a little bit, because the mix can make or break a song. It really can.
Absolutely.
Then he said, "Ooh, the mix. It's in the mix."
Which I think is why during this period, some of these albums sound the way they sound. I mean, obviously they're doing so much work in such a short time.
Yeah.
So many songs, and a lot of the songs we don't get to hear, but they're still mixing those songs in the mix of the songs that we do get to hear. And that's why I love these remasters now, because you're able to really go back and spend some more time, really sort of dial into, okay, tweaking certain things. But at the same point, it adds to this is the allure. This is how his stuff sounded. And I love that too. It's because under these conditions, this is how he worked. It would have been interesting if he had somebody like, what's the dude that did Michael, Bruce Sweden or something, one of them types of engineers.
Yeah.
It would really be interesting to hear Prince's music through that sort of ear lens too, as well.
Just really quickly, Celie, hold that thought. Write it down, because I would forget it if someone made me say.
Go ahead.
I like this comment from Todd Starr, and I often think about this. Imagine if Parade had the Sonics of Voodoo. I've always thought about this, especially when D'Angelo is alive, and now that he's no longer with us, I think about this a lot.
Dirty Mind, like that.
So the thing is, Prince was extremely prolific, and he put out a lot of music, which I am grateful for. In fact, he, that's the reason why I continue to want as many Prince songs as we haven't heard, or the Prince songs we have heard in crappy versions, where we want the highest audio quality, because I want to hear the music. But when you have someone like D'Angelo, and I think the only other person that can compare to D'Angelo in terms of their recording schedule is Sade. Having almost 10 years, 5 years between albums, 10 years, 12 years between albums is a very long time. And we don't get a lot of music. Now, Voodoo is a masterpiece. I mean, like, no one can deny that. But I would have rather taken less masterpiece work from D'Angelo, because I'm sure there would have been gems along the way if he was just as prolific as Prince, or let's say Parliament Funkadelic. The whole, like, for me, what I loved about P-Funk is that they put out the work. Prince put out the work. But when you have someone like D'Angelo, where it's about perfection and really spending too much time, I would say, kind of, to counter your argument, Michael, a little bit, but, just taking it to an extreme, sometimes too much time can be too much time. So I'm curious, like, how do you feel about, like, Prince's prolificness, not taking the time to do these mixes properly, but just getting the music out, as compared to someone like D'Angelo that really took the time to craft the sound, but it took decades, 5 years, 10 years to do that kind of work?
Well, I would say I don't think his prolificness would be the issue, because you can just stay being prolific. I just think that, and it doesn't necessarily need to be him in the studio, and sometimes he's not, as we're reading, to do these mixes,
right?
To come back, cycle back around, even give it a week or a couple. But I think the thing is, when you have the engineer that is recording the music with you in real time, and that's also the same person that is sort of tasked to mix these down in real time while still doing all that other stuff, that's what I'm talking about. I think there should have been maybe somebody else, or there's another team that was the mix team or something, so they could spend the time, because Susan and them, the next day, any one of these sessions, he's recording. They're doing the mixes the same goddamn night, which is ridiculous unto itself. But I mean, that's just what they were doing. But I'm just saying, it would have been interesting to hear his music if they would have given the ears a break, and it's not just recording session and then mixing the songs, like, okay, we're going to record tonight. Maybe we come back, somebody else can come in tonight and they do the mix. But I just think when you, the ears, there's a reason why that is not done. When you're doing music and anything, I don't think you would have the director of the movie sitting there shooting scenes and then editing the scene that same night and cut it and go into film. Like, it's not, there's a reason why they don't do that. Again, they're not on the level of Prince is an outlier artist, but it would have just been interesting. And I think when you hear his later work, I think it's given the time to be mixed and stuff. And I'm not imagining they're just mixing it at the same time right after a session, because his stuff starts to sound really sonically. There's other ears that came in and his music starts picking up different sonics and stuff. So that's why I'm just saying during this period, he was so prolific, but I wish he would have had a bigger team of engineers, I guess, that could have just focused on the mix aspect of it to really bring out, which you obviously hear in some of these remasters, what they were doing as they were recording it. Again, that's just an opinion. I could have been wrong too.
No, I don't think that you're wrong. I think that most importantly, what you're saying is the reason we do this every Saturday and the reason we had these great discussions is because we learn so much. And going back to, again, not to just keep shoving this book, but going back to Roy Wood's new book, The Man of Many Fathers, he gives us in that book males who are horrible human beings that he learned a lot of great lessons from. So I think for me, the main point of what you're saying, Brother Dean, is what we can learn from is quality and quantity. You're giving us, hey, here's something we can learn about how we can impact our quality without impacting our quantity, if that makes sense. So for me, it's not that to me, I don't even think it's are you right or wrong or disagree with you or not disagree with you. What I like is the lesson you're giving me to a future artist to say, hey, here's something you may need to think about in your final product. That's what I'm getting from what you're saying. Now to the point, which gets me kind of to the point. So two quick things. Prof. Duff, I emailed you something that I want you to open for the end. It's about something we were talking about at the beginning, but just open it and share it at the end. And then so to this point about quantity, quality working all along, I did all the flooring for the bottom part of my house. So if you come in the bottom, I did the kitchen, I did the foyer, I did the wash and dry, I did all the flooring. I started at 8 a.m. Okay. I started at 8 a.m. That Saturday. 1 a.m. Sunday morning, I was finished for everything except the little downstairs bathroom, and it's a little half bath. So I worked from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. I get to the half bath and I go, it's 1 a.m. I could go to sleep, get up in the morning, knock out this because the house wasn't furnished, so Monica hadn't moved in yet. So I was doing this. So I could go to sleep, get up in the morning, knock out this half bath. In my mind, no, fuck that. I knock out this half bath. So when I wake up in the morning, I ain't got shit else to do. So I knock out that half bath. Long story short, there's a reason why that half bath has a whole bunch of rugs on the floor. Because that half bath tile flooring is awful. Like it is, and because when you walk through the house, people are surprised when I tell them I did the floor, and they go like, "Damn, that's professionally made." And then they go in the bathroom and they go, "Well, who did this?" Like literally, I go, "Who did?" So that when you talk about process of working so long, because when I was doing the half bath, I didn't feel like there was nothing in my mind said, this is not as good as those other 4 rooms. Like there was nothing in my mind that I was in a groove, I was moving. But when I got up that morning, that shit was awful. So there is a notion of you can work to a point and you don't know that you have fallen off, but you need to at least have the understanding of I need to rest to get my limits back. That's all I mean. I'll shut up.
I just want to add real quick to it. I'll make this very short. I think it's the same sort of way like when you take the period between 1999, Purple Rain. He didn't stop recording per se, but it seemed like there was a they had that stuff cooking in the oven a little longer than they let any other album sort of cook, and it produces one of his, his most successful album, I think, because it sounds like it's, there's nothing wrong on that record. Not to say it's perfect, but you can tell they spent some time. The mixes sound great. That make sure every song is what it needs to be and exactly. But he doesn't have to stop recording. He's actually recording all these other albums that come out at the same time. He's still working like a madman. The Time, Sheila E., Apollonia, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think it's not a thing of the output. It's just I'm just talking about specifically the mixing of the songs, because the stuff he's doing in the period we're talking about is fantastic, fantastic sounding, next level shit. And he's throwing in orchestras onto it. That alone to me says, listen, man, let's make sure this, we don't have to finish it. We don't have to mix it tonight. Like, we can do a mix you can listen to, but the final mix don't need to be done tonight. Like that's what I'm saying.
So is it fair to say that Prince ran so that the artist behind him could walk, where they could look at, here's this pacing of these albums, 1 1 1 1 1. Maybe they don't sound as great as they could, so we can learn from that, take our time a little bit more. I mean, it's fair to say we all agree Prince is a unicorn,
Right.
and I think that if nothing else, all of us would argue the point that D'Angelo is a unicorn. And I forget, there was a comment that was up. My man knew the understudy of Voodoo's engineer, Russell Lovato. And if he's talking about Ben Kane, I had a conversation with Ben Kane, who was very involved with, he was still second, but he was still very involved with Black Messiah. And he talked about the part of the process of Black Messiah. Things like, D'Angelo didn't own a computer. Like, none of this stuff is, Pro Tools. He did all of these stuff, stuff on cassettes and, and analog equipment. And I think there were, of course, other variables as to why there was such a, delay space between Voodoo and then Black Messiah. So that might be kind of like on the extreme end of it. But it could be fair to say that with all of the output that has come out and stories about how Prince liked to live in the red, so there's no room, to really, remaster and improve the sonic quality. I do think that it's a lesson of sorts. But the other thing I wanted to touch on, the break between 1999 and Purple Rain. It's interesting that you could kind of say the same thing between Sign of the Times and Love Sexy, even though they were sequential as far as the calendar was concerned. He fundamentally had Sign of the Times done because all he was doing was like editing it down from larger works through this transition of the Revolution breaking up and him needing to pare down a 3/8 vinyl album to a 2 vinyl release. And then we get Love Sexy, which, at least in my ears, sounds great. It sounds a lot different than some of the previous, the previous albums. So I wonder if just the fact that he had some extra time.
Well,
I think the sound of love.
And didn't have Susan Rogers.
I think Sound of Time sound is intentional though.
Right.
That's fair.
I would also argue about.
Celie, can I say one thing? But Love Sexy was recorded at Paisley Park. In fact, wasn't it the first?
It was, yeah. As opposed to all these Sunset Sound sessions.
Yeah, so it's going to sound different because it's in
and
by virtue of the fact.
Right.
And it's also intentional to sound like that, I think, too. It's bright, and this is a new studio, new equipment. We're going to make it sound, this is a top of the line studio. Of course, it's going to sound different than my other albums. I think the intention is for it to sound unlike anything he had done before. The same way I think it's intentional to Sign of the Times sounds like, oh, there's a mistake in the recording, leave it in there. I think, but I think to compare it to D'Angelo, I think D'Angelo's thing is more an answer to what's going on at the time musically, as opposed to it trying to be like it's mixed a certain way because we want it to sound unlike any other record of this time. and that sort of shapes where other people go. I mean, that influences Prince. Oh, okay, I'll make a record like that too. That kind of sounds like the Rainbow Children. All the great artists are always going to drop something that changes the game. Prince did that many times. Where, so but I'm just saying in terms of him just overall mixing as opposed
to no, it's interesting because I get it because he's still the same guy, right? The pacing is still going to be the same. We still, dropping out a dozen songs and
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That makes a lot of sense.
That was what I was just going to ask. Then does it matter that those of us who are diehards, we actually had the Black Album in real time before Love Sexy came out?
Right.
Like there was a I can't remember what journalist wrote it, but it was true. You're saying that when Love Sexy came out, Prince fans were treating Love Sexy like it was the bootleg and the Black Album like it was the real album. Because we hadn't lived with the Black Album.
That's right.
So I didn't know in the point like where that came with the timeline and him being really, putting out a lot of the output. But I was just thinking about whether that even fit in that discussion that technically the Black Album did come out because we all had it before Love Sexy.
To be real, I heard Black Album after Love Sexy, some months thereafter.
Okay.
And it really was what's Mike say, a headbuster. I had a very heavy faith-based experience when I first listened to the Black Album juxtaposed to Love Sexy.
Okay.
It was like he got this in the tank, that kind of energy. As much as I love Love Sexy, but they're two very different projects.
Well, no doubt.
All right, so I'm going to. We got the time. Our time checker. So we're going to read Wednesday, January 15th, 1986. Kiss extended version, overdubs, crossfades, and edits. Y'all want some more? Edits and mix. Another hole in your head. Copy for Claire Fisher. Love or Money. Copy for Claire Fisher. Sunset Sound Studio 3, 2 p.m. to 9:30 a.m. 2 p.m. until 9:30 a.m. Books locked out. Producer Prince, artist Prince, listed as the Marx Brothers. Engineers Coke Johnson and Susan Rogers. I'm going to actually skip the Eric Leeds quote just because it's about the Flesh. Eric was still working on a possible Flesh album with the Jazz Jams recorded recently. During the session, Prince worked on the mix and edited Y'all Want Some More, a short driving drum, guitar, and piano heavy song. Y'all Want Some More was actually just a little tag of something explaining leads. I just lifted about a couple of minutes of it that I put in the sequence. Work continued on the extended version of Kiss, probably including a playful argument between Prince and Jill Jones as an older married couple, Sophie and Saul. Why were we playing a Jewish couple last Jones? We goofed around. We always had impressions. When I think about it now, what a sweet relationship, because you don't often have that simpatico with somebody. It was like your best buddies. I'm so happy when I hear these things because I go, wow, I was so super freaking comfortable with this person. Before the session was complete, copies of Another Love Will Hold Your Head and Love or Money were likely made for Claire Fisher and his orchestral embellishments. As everything was wrapping up, 2 C60 cassettes were made of the work completed, and the session ended at 9:30 a.m. So, like I mentioned about the talking on Hello at the end, in real time, I didn't know how to feel about the talking at the end of Kiss. So I want to hear from you, C. Lee.
I loved it. Look, let me tell you this. Kiss is the most perfect 12-inch extended version I've ever heard in my life. Let me start there. And, and it ain't on video, so he looks like me. He was like, Sophie, when I tell you the same, you're getting the whole, we were all short hair. I mean, the whole, I loved it. I love the fact that he gave Donnie Simpson and Video Soul a shout out by way of, because he calls it video or something. He doesn't say Video Soul. He calls it something else, right? So just the fact that for me, Video Soul guy gets a shout out on Kiss, which may actually speak more to Brother Turnbull and Brother Dean's point about Kiss being this kind of economic thing sonically that Prince is reaching for. Because I don't know if BT gets another shout out like that from Prince at this point in his career until much later. So he's pretty thick. So yeah, so to say that I didn't know that was Jill, by the way. So I'm just not finding out that
You
was.
didn't know that was Jill?
I did not. I
I thought that was Wendy or something.
Yeah, I did not know. Yeah, I thought it was Wendy. I did not know it was Jill.
Yeah.
But
me and Duff knew what was that.
Yeah. See. I did not know. And but to say it is one of the most perfect. Remember, I told you that my conundrum is I so love the way on the album Kiss transitions into another love, a hole in your head.
Right.
But I so love the 12-inch versions of both of those that on my playlist I have the 12-inch versions of both of those. So I miss the way in which the album they transition to each other. But I just love that 12-inch of Kiss so much. I gotta hear it every time I listen to it. So yeah, I love I love everything about that 12-inch. I'll shut up.
All right. Okay, Michael Dean, do you mind reading Thursday, January 16th? Skip the quote.
All right. Kiss. Extended version, crossfades and edits. Love or Money, 7-inch single mix. Sunset Sound, Studio 3, 2 p.m., 9:30 p.m. Book locked out. Producer Prince, artist Prince, engineers Coke Johnson, Susan Rogers. With the Parade album scheduled for release at the end of March, today's session featured 7.5 hours of editing and mixing for the extended version of Kiss, which was slated as the first single from the album and the 7-inch release for Love or Money, which would be the flip side of the Kiss single. There you go. All right.
All right. So I'm going to kind of continue the conversation that we had before. I didn't jump in. So everybody knows that I don't think that Kiss fits on the Parade album. I think it's really interesting, Celie, that I've never thought about Kiss lyrically, but even in the film, it disrupts the film for me. You know, like, it just like takes me out of the film. So like, and for me, it's sonically, like, you know me, I didn't really listen to the lyrics, but it was more of a sonic thing. So when I think of Kiss, I never think about Parade. I only think of Kiss. I already think about Kiss as a standalone single. One, someone pointed out in the chat a long time ago, that's in color, has nothing to do with like the Under Moon, black and white aesthetic, and it sonically didn't fit. The song that I thought should have been on the album is Love or Money, because like you, that was like the whole point of Under the Cherry Moon. And I never, until today, I never thought about Kiss as an answer to the question of love or money. So thank you for that, Celie. I love that you're here, because I would have never made that. I was like, well, what is this doing on Parade? I just don't get it. But even after knowing lyrically about the tie-in, musically, I still don't think it fits. And I really wish that Love or Money, I played Love or Money like it was the single. So for me, the single was the A side was Love or Money, and the B side was Kiss for me, because I wasn't playing Kiss, I was playing Love or Money. I love that.
In fact, let me help you with your argument, which is kind of counter to my argument, because you said something sonically. The difference between what I call quiet movies and loud movies. So for an example, She's Gotta Have It is a quiet movie. So sonically, if you listen to the soundtrack, there's no loud songs on that soundtrack. There's no loud music in the actual soundtrack on the album. Same thing with Under the Cherry Moon. It's a quiet movie. As you say, then Kiss is really jarring, right? In that moment. And that's a particularly quiet moment. That's a particularly intimate moment. So I agree with you that it's jarring. The only thing I will say is that, and I don't know, because we all don't know what's happening in Prince's head, right? I wonder if it was because he wanted that moment to be jarring. I wonder if it was because he wanted it to be the wake up moment. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. Doesn't mean it works, right? Just because he may have wanted it. But if Kiss is the moment where Christopher gets it, maybe he wants that to get it. And that the problem for him is that that basically just jarred every goddamn body, as opposed to, because to Brother Turnbull's point, people cheered. Now,
Right.
I will say this though, coming back to what Brother D said about the performance. Here's what I remember distinctly about Purple Rain. So when Billy says, "What would you do in my shoes?" and when Doug's cry kicks in, the theater explodes. 1 second later, though, so there's an explosion, and 1 second later, the entire theater goes, "Oh," because they thought a performance was coming.
Sure, yeah.
And to me, that shit is funny as hell, because I'll never get back on. Yay! What the fuck? Like it's Prince on a motorcycle, and like, oh, he wasn't gonna be on stage. Said, "Billy, this is what you need to do in my position is listen to this funk." So, but to your point, I get it. It's a quiet movie, and the disturbs the quietness of that movie. To which, again, going back to She's Gotta Have It, Spike doesn't break. The serenity, I think, is a word, which is really interesting to talk about She's Gotta Have It as a serene movie. It really is a serene movie, despite its topic, right, about this sexual, this woman taking sexual liberation. I'll shut up, because yeah. So I agree, even though I'm still with the lyric, but I get what you guys saying about the Sonics. Go ahead, Bro Turnbull.
I'm just saying, you don't think Prince was like, that's where we could put this song in? We can put it in right here.
No, I get what you're saying. It's just, but it's so lyrically, it answers so lyrically that I just really do think that he was like, this is the moment, right? It goes back to when Christopher's talking to Tricky, like when two are in love, life is a parade, right? I really do think that for thinking about how Prince was thinking about themes and like, I really do think that he was willing to destroy the popularity of something if it made his point. Let me give you an example.
See, that I agree with.
Yeah. So let me give you an example. Let's look at the Nude tour for a moment. I was always upset that the electric chair wasn't played during the Nude tour. In fact, I would have preferred that the Nude, if you're going to take a Batman song, I would have preferred that electric chair opens the Nude tour rather than the Future.
No.
But you know why? But you know why why I think he chose the Future?
Because it's hidden.
The message.
Yeah.
Prince is and I
okay.
You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? I get the Sonics, I get the funk, and maybe this is a paper I've been thinking about writing or somebody. I've always believed that Prince has always chose message over music.
Mm.
I have always believed that and he does it in such a way that sometimes he will shoehorn in shit that don't fit sonically. Because the message, Prince was always about and so the Future was the message that he wanted, right? It had more of a message than the electric chair, even though for me, sonically, I would have wanted. I'm still mad. I just think that I think that electric chair should have been performed on that damn.
I mean, I agree with you, and I mean, I'm being a little contrarian for comedic effect, but I mean, the Future and electric chair, that 1-2 hits as hard as controversy and sexuality, and
I'm with you.
Everything in between hasn't hit like that, So you got to open with the Future, but I hear what you're saying, and I do agree with it. I mean, I agree with the idea that Prince would, cannibalize or kill his own product for the sake of getting over the message with some, with some additional product.
Yeah.
I wonder though if so between what you just said about Kiss and the lyrical content of it, and what D'Angelo has been talking about as Under the Cherry Moon being Prince at his authentic self, it's taking me a while. It's helped my acceptance of Under the Cherry Moon. It's never been a favorite for mine. But it's the Godfather compared to Graffiti Bridge, in my view. But but what I'm getting to is, like, all that aside, I felt that Parade as a whole in the Kiss extended version specifically, really, it felt like Prince was a person and was human and was opening up to who he was and bringing you in, and that comedy and that nuance in the dialogue between like him and Jill and some of the things that he would say, you know, woman overboard, everybody going down and all that, you know, was him at his playfulness. And I did feel that the Christopher Tracy portrayal, particularly with the interaction with Tricky, was a little over the top. And so at that time, I it was a little rigid for me. And I was 15, and as I got a little older, 16, 17, 18, 19, you know, I rejected it as all but buffoonery, right? But I think it was a you know, a dramatic performance of who he was, but in the music and the album context, and also in the concert context, because that's the thing, he's a lot more interactive in the shows,
Right.
you know, that you didn't see in the videos, that you didn't see in the persona on, you know, on the records as much. And I think and Parade for me was like this ebbing away from that. The Parade tour, the Sign of the Times tour, the Love Sexy tour, where even in the interplay during the arena performances where there's such a strict set list and timings, there was still that humanistic Prince of him as a person to a degree. He's still a superstar.
Right.
You know what I mean? Don't touch me. You know what I mean? But he was still that accessible person. And I really, really, really felt that in the music.
So to your point, Props Up, can you highlight Bordeaux 8791? All right, Bordeaux 8791. This ain't for you. I'm responding to what you said. This ain't for you. This is for our good friend Nicolay, right? This is for our good friend Nicolay, because Nicolay kind of coined the term judgy Prince. But I'm answering you, Bordeaux 879. But Nicolay kind of coined the term judgy Prince. And this is where you may be off a bit about that, because, and I'm going to say it again for the 1,000th time, if you either didn't like, not you, Bordeaux, but just anybody, if you either didn't like or were offended by the messages on the Rainbow Children, that's because your dumb ass hadn't been listening from day one. Because the Prince on Controversy
Same.
Dirty Mind.
Judgy, that's a judgy motherfucker on that.
Right.
The Prince on Listen to Those Songs. Prince was message over everything on Controversy. He was a judgy ass person. The only problem, the only difference between Controversy and the Rainbow Children is now some of us are being judged, as opposed to on Controversy, Prince was judging people we don't like. So to say that the music fell off because of Prince's messaging is kind of what I want to say. I would just say it's off base, given from the fact that you can't listen to an album like Controversy. Look at the cover. The Controversy Daily. It's all about him wanting to be messaging. Dirty Mind, you get Party Up is an anti-war song. You get all of these songs. Prince was always about message. Prince as a black man did a song in 1978 about teenage pregnancy. Why was that important? Because teenage pregnancy was destroying the black community. And Prince was one of the few people who wrote a song about teenage pregnancy at a time when nobody was talking about teenage pregnancy. So to talk about somehow Prince's messaging being, no, he was always judgy Prince. He was always forthright Prince. It's just that as his career went on, some of us didn't like the things he was saying. So his music, or he didn't fall off because of his messaging. Maybe some people just got tired of or didn't like the things he was saying. I'll shut up.
I wanted to add back to, just going back to D'Angelo was talking about with the Kiss and everything and the disruption. I feel like Housequake is the same sort of thing. It just, when it comes on, it's just, and I think that's a part of Prince, is to always have something that whatever you think is about to happen, you know, how about, and then he launches into that other, you know, that Prince, you know, that the song and dance, and I just think he was on brand by putting Kiss out. And I think Kiss is, it promotes Prince. even more so than to promote the movie. And I think Under the Cherry Moon, the movie has to deal with now Prince is a superstar, and he's bigger than the movie. Which I think is why the movie doesn't necessarily work for the general public, because they want to see Prince, but they're getting something else. Which is, to your point, he's putting his message over your expectations. But I just think too, that's just a part of his whole career has been like that. Well, at least to this point, he becomes bigger than the product, and people want to see him and not necessarily his art. Right. And his art may be different.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Or
what he wants to really say.
What they're doing. And I think later in his career, he sort of understands that point. Like, when I go on tour, I'm giving you Prince.
Right.
My art is for sale. Y'all not going to listen to it no way. So I'm not going to even play it in the concert. I'm going to give you exactly what you want.
Right.
But I'll save that for the smaller gigs from my fans, where I'm going to give them the art that they really want. They don't care to see the superstar Prince. They want to see the newest, hottest, latest message that I'm on. And I think that's something he's always had to wrestle with.
Right. And to your point, I was, by the time Sign of the Times came out, I was the kid that the other kids would, because I was always going to get the Prince album first. So they would come down and I would play the album for them. And it's funny you make that point, because of course we'd all heard Sign of the Times, right? That was the lead single. Housequake is the third song on the album, if I remember correctly. And what I remember in that listening session, Sign of the Times plays, everybody that seems like kind of grooving, Playing the Sunshine plays, everybody's grooving. When Housequake comes on, it stopped being an album listening session and it became a party. That's like one of my favorite memories from that time, is that the moment. So like you said, it drastically changed, it sonically changed, right? So yes, and again, I didn't think about, to your point, was Prince purposely doing that? But I do remember that it stopped being a listening session and it became no, let me put that back up. And see, you I don't know if you're misunderstanding me or if you're misquoting me. So I don't know which is which. That's not what I said. My point is, he was equally concerned with both. That if you think that Prince somehow had, because let me go back. And we had him on, so you can go listen to when we interviewed Mr. Hayes. So you can find it with D'Angelo's interview with Mr. Hayes, or you can find, he said it twice. Mr. Hayes asked Prince, he said, "What all the things that you do best?" He said, "You play guitar, you play bass, you do this, you do that. With all of the things, Prince, what do you think that you do best?" And Prince's answer was, "At the end of the day, I'm a poet. At the end of the day, I like making statements." So Prince was as equally concerned about his lyrics as he was about the music. And I'm not saying, there we go. I'm not saying one over the other. My point was that if Prince is making a decision about what song to include in a concert, or what songs to include in a movie, whatever project, it's going to come down to, do the lyrics of the song fit the messaging of the entire thing? That's the point I was making. I'll shut up.
Which one of y'all is Corey Holcomb and which one's Anton Daniel?
I know, right. I think you know what? And I never watched Corey Holcomb stuff, and I saw that, and I was like, yeah, that's funny. Yeah. So, Google that if y'all hadn't seen that.
Actually, don't.
So there's a lot. There's like we're working in 2 timelines in the chat as well today, and it's going to be. Oh, wait! Stop the presses. Is that Pam Grier on your shirt, Michael Dean?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's so amazing.
That's my baby.
That's my baby. You gotta tell me where you got that shirt. I like that.
Absolutely.
Is it the same place you got the D'Angelo shirt, or somewhere else?
Yeah, T Public.
Okay.
tpublic.com. They got.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Pam Grier.
Okay. All right. So there are only 3 people on my wall: Prince and Prince Associates, Tina Turner,
okay,
and Pam Grier. So I love me some Pam.
Foxy Brown, Miss Coffee herself.
You betting 1,000 on the winning.
Right.
Yes. Okay, so going back to the two timelines, I really wish we had time to get into this, but I feel like it's going to take us into a rabbit hole, and we still got 2 dates to read. But I'm going to put it up here, and maybe we'll get to this one day. But I'm not understanding the criticism. Welcome to America. Is it simply that the album has a message, or is it the content of the message that's being criticized? So
All of that.
All right. So Arthur, I know you need to go. Can you read our last thing before you go? So we need to read Thursday, January 9th. No, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Thursday, January 16th.
Isn't that what
I
Mike
did
just
that.
read?
Yeah, I just did that one.
Yeah, Friday, January 17th. I got my
Okay.
in the wrong place.
That's cool. I can do that. And forgive me if there's anything in the background. My wife and
Oh, it's
daughter
okay.
are home.
No worries.
Okay, here we go. Kiss extended version, edits and cassette copies, parade, and album assembly. I love the album assemblies. That was sent to be masters. This is the final version done. Sunset Studio 3, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Long day, booked and locked out. Producer Prince, artist Prince, engineer Coke Johnson.
Skipping the quote.
Additional edits for the extended version of Kiss were performed during this session, which seems to be dragging on by this point. The thing that could have made Kiss take so long was because he wasn't there the whole time, explains Johnson. And so if he shows up at 11 in the morning and we start working on it, and then he takes a break for 3 hours, I have to leave that mix up there. I have to leave that mix up right where it is. Once again, remix. I have to leave that mix up right where it was for when he comes back. Because we didn't have the automation you do today. So I would want everything just to be like he left it so we could continue working on it when he came back. The Parade album was assembled and sent to Bernie Grundman for mastering. Once the album was complete, it was important to view it. It was important to view it in the context of what was a soundtrack album. Let me read that again for myself. Once the album was complete, it was important to view it in the context of what it was, a soundtrack album that embellished the movie. Purple Rain was tightly crafted from the eye of writer-director Albert Magnoli to accentuate the emotional story being told in the film. Both Purple Rain, the movie, and Purple Rain, the album, worked flawlessly together and separately. Didn't I say that last year? All right. Parade, despite containing several timeless songs, has trouble supporting the plot of the movie. It is intended to accompany a story, this story that runs through the movie, explains Susan Rogers, but it's not as tight with that story as the Purple Rain album was to the Purple Rain movie. At this point, continued Rogers, I think Prince was trying to position himself as an artist who would appeal to both North American and European audiences who liked both soul R&B music as well as pop music. It was becoming quite clear at this point that he was first and foremost a pop artist.
Interesting.
At the end of this abbreviated session, 6 cassettes, 2 C60 tapes, and 4 C90 tapes were dubbed of the day's assembly. The lineup for the final album was likely the same as what was compiled during this session. Prince was probably absent for most of this session, as there was a 4.5-hour break during the 7-hour session. He was likely meeting with some of the members of the team who were designing the cover as he approved the exterior layout for the Parade album on this date. Those behind the artwork included Jeff Katz, photography, Laura LaPuma, and Jeffrey Kent, AR off, the art direction, or Ann Field, the collage, the interior collage. This is a great section, Duane.
Really speaks to how that album, even I think it says it on the album, songs.
It's like music from, right?
Music from, and not a soundtrack album in a traditional sense. So yeah, I mean,
And I would say that Purple Rain is a literal soundtrack, and Parade is an impressionistic soundtrack. And what I say about Parade being an impressionistic soundtrack, Mountains does not move the narrative forward in the way that the songs on Purple Rain does.
Mm-hmm.
But Mountain absolutely captures the theme of transcending the physical for something greater.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in that case, so I get what she's saying. So, but in both ways, Prince is thinking about making music to accompany this visual thing, and that under the direction of another writer director, right? Prince is being more literal about the songs. That the songs in Purple Rain could be actual dialogue, right? We could actually see people in Purple Rain. The songs on Parade, there are only maybe 2 or 3 of them that could be actual dialogue. And what the rest of them do, let's say, so all of them other than Kiss carry the sonic theme of the film. And then lyrically, those other songs can carry the theme of love makes us better human beings. Love allows us to transition the physical to be something better. That's it. I'll set up.
I would say too, Purple Rain though. I mean, we've questioned that as being a soundtrack as well, because it doesn't have the time songs, nor does it have, they're all just treated as separate albums.
Right.
Where a true soundtrack would have all the songs that were featured in that movie in one,
right,
like a Grease or something like that.
Right, right.
Saturday Night Fever.
Right.
I think with Dr. Rogers' quotes, he was kind of saying that they were not necessarily trying to make the album work for the film, but just keep in mind that at the end of the day, this is something that needs to support this film. So there does need to be some kind of thought of narrative structure throughout. So, and I really wonder, man, the one person that I would always would have loved to talk to, even if I just sat and listened to one of D'Angelo's interviews, would have been Steve Fargnoli.
Oh, yeah.
Fargnoli seemed to be the only person that Prince would actually listen to.
Right.
But to get his take on being able to see how Prince approached this, what Prince thought about this music supporting the film and how it worked within that message of the film, because the messaging of the album seemed to be congruent with the messaging of the film. But you're right to Celi's point. There's no one-to-one kind of thing. Like Purple Rain, Take Me With You. You see them on the motorcycle,
right?
But absent of the visual, the song stands alone. You know what I mean? But here, if you have Girls and Boys, there's this third person sort of summary of what's taking place, the interplay between Mary Sharon and Christopher Tracy. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
But it's not a one-to-one relationship with any kind of scene, sequence, or interaction between them in that way. It seems like it's a needle to thread.
Right.
I almost wish, and if I would have been one of the executives, I would have said, you know what, Prince, we're gonna do the Parade album. We'll put that out. But I tell you what, man, I know you got a lot of songs. Let's put out a Prince album too at the same time. So you can have the songs. Do what you want to do for the movie, but then you know what I think it'd be cool, and I know you want to put out a lot of stuff. We'll also put out a Prince and Revolution album that ain't really got to have nothing to do with that, but just has all that other stuff, your stuff that you want to put out. Because I think that would have been interesting to see which ones would have taken to what. But if it would have just been one unrestricted of having to tie it into this, I'd be curious to see what he would say. You know what? Yeah, let me take these songs instead.
But
maybe that would have been where Kiss would have been.
Well, I mean, maybe, but even what you're just describing, right? That's the whole Dream Factory project. Yeah. Whether or not it was supposed to be an album, there's been some questions about that. But I mean, from what we have of like a tracked album of what the Dream Factory is, with like Train and Laughs Hard and all these songs that are on there, that theoretically would have come out in late 86, early 87. And as much as I love the thread from Parade to Sign of the Times, man, the Dream Factory project really showed you like the direction that the revolution was going, even if it became the ceiling of what that band could do.
Right.
You know, but I do think you just described either what, why, how, or, you know, the impetus of how the Dream Factory would have been released should that have been the follow-up to Parade by the Revolution.
And Kim's point, because I was going to ask, I said, Brother Dean, what that would have made you is that would have made you an executor of good music, but not executor of counting the beans.
Well, true.
You see,
Well,
yeah.
at the same point, you know, if this was a different artist, they'd have done. If it was Madonna wanted to do that, you think they would?
Yeah, see, that's why I always got bent out of shape, you know, because it would be like, I mean, like for real, you know, I would walk into Rasputin's Records in Berkeley, you know, summer of '86, fall of '86, and I would see like an infinite number of variations of Depeche Mode material. There'd be like 12-inch box sets. There'd be special picture discs. There'd be reimagining, you know, there'd be different versions of the same album. And granted, that got into imports and countries and all the other kind of stuff. But it was like no Prince. And Prince was like that caliber of an artist to be able to do that. Same with Madonna, you know. But Warner didn't want to spend the resources to do that from whatever framing that they had of Prince being accepted by that, you know, that kind of consumer. And it just really, man, it would just get, I was a weird kid, but I'm just saying, I get like completely bent out of shape over that kind of stuff.
No, but I think that your
Like, what
point
the hell, you know?
No, but I think your point is important because I will admit I didn't know enough. Like, I didn't know that was happening for like other folk at the same time. Like for me, as a, you know, so you have people have to understand that even before '88, after '88, Prince was the only like modern artist I was listening to other than Jesse Johnson's album. Like for me, so from '83 to '85, I was listening to Little Richard like his shit just came out this week, Michael Dean. Like I was in my high school like, y'all heard this new Little Richard? And them motherfuckers looking at me like, what the fuck? Like I was like, y'all ain't heard this new game? Like them up, like I thought Tutti Frutti came out in 1983. That's the way I was banging this shit. You couldn't have told me that
It all makes sense now.
You couldn't have told me Papa got a brand new bag to come out in '81. You couldn't have told me that. Like, so to Brother Turnbull's point, I didn't know like what the other people were getting. So that makes me even more like depressed and disappointed that this could have been happening. Because I didn't know.
It was out of pocket, man. Warner Brothers.
Living Color. Look, Living Color. You have to understand though, but before Living Color, I was a Mother's Finest fan. I was a Mother's Finest fan. What's my man? God damn it. The European group where the brother was the lead singer, played bass. Thin Lizzy. So I was a thin, you have to understand, I was a Thin Lizzy, Living Color. What's my man? So no New Jack Swede. I do have an interesting. Look. I have time for it. I don't have time for it now. I do have a very interesting guy story about how place makes you like something that you may not like only because of place. And I'll just say that when Guy's first album came out, as a student at Jackson State University, you couldn't walk from one end of the Jackson State campus to the other and not hear that Guy album, right? You just would not go hear it. And to be honest, I couldn't stand that damn album, right? I couldn't. It just was not something I was feeling. I go to basic training in 1989. The fourth week of basic training, you get to go to the PX store. So for the first 4 weeks of basic training, you're sequestered. That weekend after my first week, we get to go to the PX store. That goddamn Guy cassette, and all I could think of was Jackson State and that Guy cassette, and it became one of my favorite albums.
You can call me crazy.
Because it made me think about Jackson State, if that makes sense. So I became a Guy fan, not necessarily for the music. I became a Guy fan because while in basic training, it was the closest connection I had to Jackson State.
It was the culture.
It was the culture that I was missing. So anyway, so for you talk to that point, I really realized that when I was going to the record store, I was going to where the Prince album was. Then I was going to where all the old ass people were. Like,
section real quick.
Yeah.
Is there anything new in
All
here?
right, that's it. I should have.
That's
Well, what Melvin put up there, you know what? That could see a Tricky album. I could have seen them doing something like that.
that would have been so.
I don't know how they would got Jerome. I guess the same way you can get Morris saying you could have got Jerome. What's this? Damn it, Chris. They could have had a damn it, Chris. Not him. Why him, God? And they could have had a slow song or not now.
Not him.
Yeah. They could have had some funk. I could have seen it.
And the Oscar goes.
Draws burning. There you go.
Get that man his Oscar.
Oh my God.
Hey, y'all, I got to switch off. My people are here. They're encroaching the gate. D'Angelo got to mute me because I'm not good on mute myself.
It's all right.
Man, thank you for joining us, man.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, before you leave, Brother Turnbull, I was going to say this to the end, but I just want you to see this because I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. And that's right. That brand new Tutti Frutti single, baby. I don't know if you can see this. I talked about this. I was going to leave it to the end. So Turnbull, I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
You know what this is?
Daisies.
The Daisies.
Oh my gosh, was that Morris's girl group?
Morris group, Brother Dean. I was fine when I gave my grandson all my albums. This was the cassette, so I literally had the Daisies cassette, which was Morris Day's group of, I think it was four women. The Daisies.
Bless his heart, he was grasping for straws, wasn't he?
He really was, because this album was. Hey, look here, I love him. This cassette was god awful, but I got it. And
you know what that is? That's guaranteed a good question. Some of y'all get.
Oh my God. I just learned about the Daisies last year when you brought it up. I never heard of the Daisies in the real time. I'm glad I didn't. I would have been trying to buy it.
It is off. I mean, it is
produced by Let Me Rap Production.
It is. Let me put it to this way. After the Daisies, when I got the Common Electric, I was like, that Common Electric's not that bad. That's what
we need to do a symposium on them records.
I was like, that Common Electric.
Daisies, Common Electric.
We may be sleeping on Common because I stopped.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, family. Till the next time. Hopefully soon.
Love you, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for
Love
coming.
you all too. Thank you so much.
Family.
Thank you for coming on. All right. So I'm going to read our last day. It's super short. Saturday, January 18th, 1986. Kiss Extended Version Edits Mix. Junk Music Mix. Sunset Sound Studio 3, 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Booked, locked out. Producer, Prince, artist, Prince, engineer, Coke Johnson. Work would continue on Kiss and the Flesh Project. It is unclear of Prince. I can't read. It is unclear if Prince attended this session. Thank you. Good night. All right. That's the end of our reading for this week. Oh my God. It's been exactly. Woo. Oh my goodness. So let's get to our end here really quick.
Hey, did you get the email I sent you?
Yes, I got it.
Cool.
Yep, I got it. Ready to rock. So far in 86, Prince has had 17 studio sessions, 8 new songs. I'm doing okay with my numbers, but I need someone to double check my math as we go along. But I know this is right because I'm usually good in the beginning of the year and then I just go crazy. Don't know what happened to that. I want to remind everyone who are in the tri-state area, there's going to be a screening of Purple Rain live at the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, and they're also celebrating 100 years. I hope you'll come out. Me, alongside Ferdera Hadley, will be doing the talk back after the screening, so it's free. Hope that you'll swing by. Everyone should be counting down for I Want You 40 so we can continue to have these amazing conversations that we had today about Parade and Under the Cherry Moon, because I really wanted to get into whether or not Michael Dean and C. Lee thought it was buffoonery, because I did not translate Under Cherry Moon as buffoonery. I just always thought it was pure Prince because that's the Prince I knew from the rehearsal tapes. So that's just me. And
we're not going to get into that, you said? Okay.
I mean, if you want to say something real quick.
I would say I guess I could see how someone could say certain parts of it could be that. And
Yeah.
I could say the same part in some parts in Purple Rain are that. But I mean, I think that's the intention. I would say that I think the Morris Day persona, I'm not talking about him as a person, but the Morris Day persona has its kind of roots in that a little bit, sort of to be that sort of a character. And I think that character traits are played into, if not made the whole movie of Under the Cherry Moon is sort of expanding that type of a character. Um, so I could kind of see that, but
Let me ask you a question, Brother Dean.
Mhm.
Do you remember, and I'm looking specifically for a year, do you remember the first time you heard the Less Work extended 12-inch? Do you remember?
Uh,
Let me ask you this. Was it before or after Purple Rain?
oh, after for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So to Prof Duff's point, and I was trying to see if I could say it without saying it on the air, but there's a moment in Less Work, the extended version,
hmm
that I understood that the Prince I was singing Under the Cherry Moon was that Prince. Because because there was a line that was said in my neighborhood. Like I knew the brothers in my neighborhood who said it all, and it's a crude. I want to be clear, it's crude, it's disgusting, and we thought it was funny. Prof Duff, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Like I didn't think the shit wasn't funny at 12, because that's what the big dudes were saying, and so the two things the dudes would say. The one thing they would say, Brother Dean, is I ain't turning down number my collar player. So if she offered to me, and the other was, hey, I don't know what she's looking for, but I ain't got nothing for her but dick and bubble gum. That's all I got for right. That line is in the 12-inch of Less Work.
Mm-hmm.
So if you heard, thank you, LTKK. I mean, so if you heard that, and then you see him, and I would argue that the people who were confused by that Prince were the people who got on at Purple Rain. Because I think that was enough of the Jamie Starr Prince leading up to Purple Rain, particularly through 1999, that you could at least imagine that this is not it. That still don't mean that it wasn't weird for a lot of people. It wasn't different. I get that. So saying that for me, the dude who was in Under the Cherry Moon was the dude who said that line in Less Work. I'll shut up.
I appreciate that, Celie. All right. So again, to get ready, and we're talking about, I need to put April 17th through 19th, 2026. Friday will be virtual, Saturday, Sunday, and it will be in person. To pre-register, iwonderyou40.substack.com. More information will eventually be posted on iwonderyou.polysolid.com around speakers and schedules and all that. So note that there is a 40 in the Substack and no 40 in polysolid.com. And don't forget, we're going to have an incendiary performance on Friday, April 17th from Law. So if you're coming in or you're going to want to attend, you don't want to miss this. So we're so grateful for Law putting on a show. And then we have so many people in the Prince community that really need our love, our care, if we can, financial support. So unfortunately, Troy's cancer has come back. So please reach out to Troy. Please reach out to Dr. Funkenberry. Please reach out to Addie Durant. Please reach out to Des. So all of these people in our community, and I'm sure there are many more. And like I said, I need to work on this. So I will make sure I do this after the show, the accompanying playlist. And again, there is a playlist for Ricky that I put the grown folks music, Madhouse 16 episode in. If you want to hear it, it's audio only, but it's a really great episode. And we want to make sure that we continue to celebrate our dear Ricky. We will be doing so all year because he will never be forgotten. And with that being said,
hold on. Todd Star video. Yes, I love Robert Cray. I love and so yes, Todd, I love Robert Cray. Been a fan of Robert Cray. And for those of you, if you're not on, there's a sister who's a blues musician out of I know Texas, named Jackie Vincent. If you haven't heard Jackie Vincent play the guitar, she is in the Stevie Ray Vaughan class and style of blues guitar players. But yes, Todd Star video. I love Robert Cray. All right, that's it.
And there is, yeah, I heard about this P-Funk show with an orchestra. I think it's happening in Detroit. Is that right? Can someone let me know if it's Detroit?
Detroit. What's happening?
Yes. What up, though? Okay, so I want to show these pictures really quickly before I forget. So, Steely.
Brother Dean, that's snow in Mississippi.
Oh, okay. That's how it snows here. That's not too much. Dig it. I dig it.
So there's proof of snow in Mississippi.
There you go.
I love it.
That is what it looked like. Look, the only thing different now is that I painted the house and I cut down them trees because I got tired of raking them damn leaves. But other than that,
I love it. It's so New Orleans, the top.
Sometimes it snows.
insipid.
All right. Oh, Edgar. Hi, Edgar. I hope you're well. Edgar took their mom to see Robert Cray. She painted.
Yeah. Right. Hey, Robert. People sleep on Robert Cray. Robert Cray is that dude. He is that dude. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Michael. Take us out again.
All right. Well, hey, we are up out of here. Thank you, D'Angelo. Another great show. Thanks to Ted came through. Salute to Ted. Author surprised us. Thank you, sir. We love it. Seeley, once again, you know what I'm saying? Like doing your thing. D'Angelo, everybody in the chat. Excellent, of course. And we'll see you next time. Work it like a job. We out.